And bam! Like a heavyweight champion, this week's Aries Stellium hits us like the proverbial ton of bricks. I'm Kesenya. I'm going to tell you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. Welcome to the Astro News and Weather Report for the third week of April 2026, and it's going to be a doozy. Now, this is tropical Vedic astrology, not sidereal. Look it up if you need to. And yes, I am a real person, not AI. We've got a big week of Astro News ahead, and then you can stick around for your personal forecast by sign. You can use the timestamps below to navigate to your sign of choice. And if the message really hits home for you, my friends, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share the video to help us reach more people. And just quickly, how my channel works. Every weekend there is an Astro News and Weather Report, which is what you're watching now, telling you what's coming up ahead for your sign. Every Wednesday, I discuss the current influence of the constellations and their mythology with David Warner Matheson. This week, there is also a fabulous video exploring the big picture of what is actually happening currently politically in our world on my World Astrology with Kesenya YouTube channel. The link to subscribe to that and view the video is in the description below. For those who want even more, I also provide both a full moon report and a new moon report for video horoscope forecasts for all signs, plus a bonus Learn Astrology with Me video each month. This week we're looking at remedies for Algol conjunctions in the chart. This is all through my Patreon family membership program. The link is also in the description below if you would like to join my Patreon family, and especially this month, learn about remedies for Algol. I would love to see you there at the Patreon family. Okay, let's get going. This week, in heavy news, the moon has moved into the intensity of the Kal Sarp Yoga this week. This combination of energies has been in play on again and off again since March the 17th, and it's going to continue until early July. Every 2 weeks, we'll have a Kal Sarp Yoga, and every alternate 2 weeks, we'll have a bit of a reprieve. Now, this is one of the more intense periods thanks to the moon over here in Aries, getting ready for a new moon in Aries this week. Thanks to the moon being on this side of the nodes, here are the nodes running from Virgo to Pisces. Because the moon is now on the same side as the rest of the planets, we have this Kal Sarp Yoga in action. So we can expect mental unrest, financial instability, health issues, delays in our success. We can also feel a lot of inner insecurity. We might even have bad dreams at this time. Usually whenever Kal Sarp Yoga is active, we get more dreams involving snakes. That's very interesting to observe. This is actually known as the time serpent combination. So interesting that we across the board seem to see a rise in the amount of dreams that involve snakes. But hang in there, my friends. A reprieve will come for us when the moon moves down through the horoscope, waxing from the new moon, and hits the south node in Virgo in roughly about 2 weeks' time. So even less, perhaps a week and a half. So there will be a reprieve if we can just hang in there and sit tight. On the 13th of April, this month, Mars will make its conjunction here with Neptune at 2 degrees of Aries. Now, this could be a time when you feel emotionally reactive, but it's a once every 2-year transit that's going to be causing this. If the tears need to flow, let them flow. If you need to throw a vase across the room just like Scarlett O'Hara, go for it, so long as no one gets hurt. Basically, our sensitivities, they need an outlet now. Other challenges that might show up with the Mars-Neptune conjunction, this could look like a struggle to find our confidence and difficulty accessing our usual strategies for life. We just feel like we can't move forward. We feel like we want to go, we know exactly where we want to be, but there's this confusion and fogginess of Neptune that reigns. So even though Mars has moved into his own sign, it could be rather challenging while Mars is in a conjunction with Neptune. It's a confusing energy, a difficult energy. But don't worry. Embrace the beautiful side of this energy and you will just love what it brings you. What's the beautiful side? It's getting in touch with our artsy side. Neptune is artistic endeavors, and particularly physical artistic endeavors like dance. So that's something that you can involve yourself in to channel the better energies of this combination. Also, you can let your subconscious self flow at this time. Listen to what your heart wants. Listen to your heart at this time. It's a good time to take action about what your heart desires, what your dreams and goals are, what your aspirations for the world you want to create are. And so taking action on Neptunian themes, artistic, creative, also visions and goals, is actually a great way to channel this energy. We also want to help others through this influence. This is about taking action on charity. Neptune is charitable in its highest expression. And of course, Mars wants to take action. So if you feel your heart moved by a certain circumstance or a certain happening in our world, and you feel like you're just compassionate and you want to help and you want to make things better, then go for it. Mars energy with Neptune can actually bring that about. On the 15th of April, we have Mercury moving into Aries, and as it does so, getting very close to Neptune as well. We'll talk about that in a second. But firstly, Mercury in the sign of Aries. This follows on the heels of the dreamy Mercury in Pisces energy that has been in play, I guess you'd call it. And it's moving, as I said, into a conjunction with Neptune. This energy of Mercury in Aries feels like changing from your silky lingerie into your sportswear. That is the difference. Our thought processes become lightning fast now. We make decisions quickly and easily. Our thinking is now very much more directed to how we can best support ourselves with instant gratification. That's what Aries wants. No getting bogged down in details. We're all about being straight up and enthusiastic thanks to this energy. And then on the 17th, so that's on the 15th, on the 17th, Mercury makes its conjunction with Neptune at 2 degrees of Aries. This energy brings us beautiful thoughts, beautiful visions and imaginings. Mercury is the mind. Neptune is the ideal. So use this happy connection to fantasize, to dream, and dream big. Dream really big, because we could see with Mars involved in this conjunction, of course, or around this area of the chart, action being taken on these big dreams that we have that can actually start manifesting for us now. It's quite an exciting time in that regard. You will find some peace and catharsis now in going into your daydreams and fantasies and any kind of mental escapism. So if you're like me and you like to have a cup of tea looking out the window at the birds or sitting in the sunshine, then this is the day for it. Feel the beauty of nature, enjoy the moment, and let your mind wander into what could be. Imagine if everybody on the planet took a moment on the 17th of April to do that. If we all collectively imagined a better world, a brighter world, a more kinder, compassionate, loving world. That mental energy, all united on this day, 17th of April, could actually see some massive changes in what's unfolding in humanity right now. You know, the imagination, the mind, is the most powerful tool that we have as human beings in the body. And I think it's underestimated a lot of the time. This is why collective prayer is important and collective action is important. Yes, that's important too, but collective imagining, collective visioning is very, very powerful as well. So gather a group of friends if you like, dream big and vision for the future of humanity in the best possible way. Now on the 17th of April as well, we are going to be having a new moon in Aries. So not only have we got the conjunction of Mercury and Neptune, but the new moon in Aries is occurring over here at 27 degrees and 28 minutes of Aries. Of course, we have from this point on, from the 17th on, we have this massive stellium in Aries, giving extra oomph and extra emphasis to the new moon energy. The 17th is probably going to be the most volatile day of April. And as such, that collective visioning process could be very, very powerful and important if we utilize it on this day and alleviate perhaps some of the other shadow sides of the stellium in Aries, which could be war and volatility and violence. But we have a new moon in Aries, we have Saturn, we have Mercury, Neptune, and Mars. 6 planets, a massive, massive stellium for this new moon energy. There aren't any significant aspects being formed. I use 5-degree orbs in my analysis, and all these earlier planets, Saturn, Neptune, Mars, and Mercury, are too far away from the new moon at 27 degrees to actually form a physical conjunction by orb, even though they are in the same sign. So they are in the same room, they're at the same party, but it's like these 4 are over in that corner having a bit of a talk, maybe having a drink or two, and the moon and the sun, the 2 luminaries, are in the opposite corner of the big lounge room, and they're hanging out together having their own conversation. So yes, they can see each other, yes, they can influence each other, but they're both doing their own separate things because they are not within orb of one another. Also, what's interesting is that there are no particular out-of-bounds planets. That's a bonus. Whenever we have out-of-bounds planets, things can get wild and unexpected and a bit Uranian-like, a bit surprising. Things go to an extreme when things are out of bounds of the sun. They're out of the restrictions, the limitations of the father of the universe, father of the solar system, which is the sun. So when we don't have any out of bounds, everyone's behaving themselves. They're at the party, they're doing what they're meant to do, like they're having a good time, they're enjoying one another's company, nobody's up to any mischief. So in that sense, it's actually quite good as well. There are no mutual exchanges going on by rulership or triplicity or anything like that. This is also occurring in lunar mansion number 1. We also have a conjunction, and this is very, very interesting with this new moon, with the fixed star vertex in the constellation of Andromeda. Now, that has a lot of portents and meaning that I discuss in great detail for all signs at my Guiding Star family report for this new moon. If you have planets or rising degrees or points around 27 degrees of Aries, you might be interested in listening to what that report has to say, because I'm going to break it down for you and what it means, what it might bring about. Okay, on the 18th to the 20th of April, we have the moon and sun exalted at the same time as Jupiter is exalted. So what will happen is that the sun will remain in Aries and the moon will have moved into Taurus for the 18th to the 20th. So the sun will be in its exaltation sign. The moon will be in its exaltation sign. This is commonly known as the luckiest days of the year, when the 2 luminaries are in exaltation. But we not only have those 2, as I said a moment ago, Jupiter is in exaltation as well. So let me just put this plainly. Any child that is born this year between the 18th and the 20th of April is going to have a really special, special chart. Not only will there be this massive Aries stellium going on, but they'll have an exalted sun, an exalted moon, and an exalted Jupiter. Really fantastic energies to have in exaltation. Okay, so how does that affect all of us? It's a shining ray of hope. These days, coming hot on the heels of the massive Aries stellium new moon, are going to be days of hope for us. Aries sun can bring empowerment and optimism and blessing, and the moon exalted in Taurus can make us feel comfortable and happy and safe in the world. I mean, given what's been going on and what is predicted to happen by many astrologers because of this stellium new moon in Aries, it is quite interesting to note that we have this somewhat considered to be lucky combination occurring in the couple of days afterwards. Let's hope that actually does come into play for all of humanity in every part of the world. But you know what, and we've already talked about it in some extent, the most important energy that we're looking at this week is the 15th to the 16th of April with this massive Aries stellium. What do you get when you actually have 6 planets in a sign? you get this monster stellium. It doesn't happen very often that we have so much energy in the one spot. In fact, I've only seen a few charts that have stelliums of this size. I mean, look, there might be many people out there watching who've got a massive six planet stellium going on, but in my readings, I've only come across it once or twice. So there's a huge focus on Aries energy. And of course, Aries energy, the first sign of the zodiac, ruled by Mars, who's now in his home territory, in his own bedroom. It's like Mars is hosting the party and he's mixing with everybody. The intensity gets dialed up to the maximum. What does this look like? Well, firstly, we have the power of the new moon, which we've just been discussing. Find out more at the Guiding Star family. The new moon, when the sun and moon conjunct in the one sign, this is at the heart of this alignment, and it represents like a seed point of pure potential. We get this double Aries effect, especially if somebody is born around this time, as I said, between the 15th to the 16th, could even consider the 17th as well, that we get this double Aries effect when we've got so much intensity from the luminaries themselves being both in the same sign. I mean, if a child was born with Aries rising and the sun and the moon there, my God, what an Aries person they would be. So with both of the luminaries in the sign of the Ram, the energy is exceptionally pioneering, courageous, and perhaps a little bit impatient as well. Number 2, the 6 planet momentum. Well, having 6 planets in Aries means that over half of the traditional personal and social planets are operating under the same set of rules. This speaks to us of things like urgency over our usual cautiousness, our usual deliberation. We don't just do things, we initiate, we start, we get out there and make it happen. There's this primal need to be first, to lead, to break new ground. We have this single-pointed focus with so many planets in Aries. So while this creates incredible drive, it can also create a bit of a blind spot to the qualities of the opposite sign, which is Libra. You can see this area of the sky is very empty. And particularly Libra being opposite all this energy means that diplomacy, compromise, and seeing the other person's perspective, that's not the default setting of these days when we have so much intensity in Aries. We must consciously lean into recognizing the needs of others, compromising with others, seeking win-win situations. It's not going to come easily. Keep that in mind for politics. We might be being told that there's, deals being done and peace negotiations underway, etc. But the astrology speaks to something very, very different. This heralds friction on the world stage. Diplomacy may actually take quite a big back seat. This is something we've already seen in abundance, and as I'm recording this video, we're all feeling hopeful that it might be, time to catch our breath. The astrology of the week ahead doesn't seem to indicate that Libra diplomacy will be on the cards. Deep breaths and move forward. Okay, so what planets are involved in this? Well, obviously we've got Mars, which rules Aries. It's in its joy. And this provides us with an incredible physical vitality and even the ability to win battles in our life, to win confrontations, to have the energy and enthusiasm and the drive to really take it home. Saturn in Aries usually feels a bit uncomfortable. After all, it is in its fall. It wants to slow things down, whereas Mars wants to rush. So there's this contradictory head-butting kind of energy coming from both Mars being here and Saturn being here. We're going to talk next week about Mars-Saturn conjunction. That could be very interesting this year. But Saturn wants to slow things down. It demands more discipline in our life. It wants to build a foundation. But the Aries energy itself wants to sprint. It's not interested in the marathon. It wants to get there in 2 seconds flat. Make it happen now. So this can feel like trying to drive with the park brake on. You know what that's like? And the car's just not moving and you can't understand why. That's the energy of Mars-Saturn. Now, with Mercury involved, communication can become, as we've already touched on, incredibly direct and straight up, even a little bit blunt, even a little bit, dare I say it, a bit crass. However, with Saturn nearby, there's a need to ensure that what we are saying is backed by long-term authority, facts, and a good foundation, a good substance. So this is something we all need to be aware of in our conversations, I feel. You know, we could be straight up and blunt, but we want to be honest and true as well, and try not to tread on too many toes. Now, Neptune is the wild card in this Aries stellium. So while other planets are pushing for concrete action and self-assertion, Neptune is here to soften the edges. It can bring a sense of divine inspiration or visionary leadership, because Aries is a leadership sign, all the fire signs are. Visionary leadership comes to the Aries fire. So we might find that there is some really inspired leadership that rises up due to this activation. One can only hope. It also creates, on the shadow side, a fog of war. Neptune brings fog into the Aries fire, and we can't, you know, I often think about Gone with the Wind, one of my favorite old time movies, and because I mean, I should explain why it's one of my favorites, because it's about the end of a civilization and what do we do when civilization collapses around us. That being the case, it's quite relevant to our current day and age. But then in the closing scene, Scarlett's walking through the fog and moving through the fog, and she can't quite see clearly in front of her. This is what it's like with Neptune as part of this stellium. So we have this fog, but war is being talked about. It's being, in some cases, actioned and pursued. And yet things are foggy and unclear, and we're not grasping what the truth is, and we can't quite see clearly what, wherefore, why. I mean, this is the way it's been since Neptune moved into Aries. This Aries stellium might exacerbate that feeling of, well, I just don't know what is really going on. With so much heat in the fire sign of Aries, you know, Neptune might see us chasing a bit of a mirage. You know, I think my love for old movies is showing up here, but I used to love watching the old Bob Hope, Bing Crosby movies as well, the road movies, and they would often find themselves in the desert, and then there'd be a mirage out there, and they'd head for the mirage, you know, crazy, stupid stuff. This is what it's like. We see the palm trees off in the distance, and we can hear the trickling of the water in the spring at the, you know, in this mirage in the desert. And is it real? Is it not real? We might feel overwhelmed as well by a lack of clear boundaries in our life, because Neptune is bringing this fog. Where does this end? Where does it begin? Where does the experience I'm having kick off? And what is the finish line? I don't even know, because I can't see clearly. Neptune energy. So that's the planets that are there. That's aside from the sun and the moon forming the new moon, of course. Now, there is a fourth point to this. There are some themes here with what's going on in Aries, and the theme is that of the trailblazer. This will really feel personally and collectively like the beginning of a new cycle, not just because there's a new moon here, but because we are establishing something new in the first sign of the zodiac with all these planets present. We're kicking off new cycles, you know, the new cycle of Mercury-Neptune conjunction, Mars-Neptune conjunction. Well, this is here. Kicking off a new cycle. So that will last a year for Mercury, and 2 years, two yearly cycle with Mars. The monthly cycle, the new moon, is kicking off a brand new cycle as well. As the weeks go on, we're going to be having Mars-Saturn conjunction. That will kick off another 2-year cycle. Mercury-Saturn conjunction will kick off another yearly cycle with Saturn. So we're seeing a lot of initiation of new cycles in the sign of initiation. Some people have likened this to the point of the spear. The energy is penetrating. The energy is unstoppable. It's full of new initiative. It's absolutely authentic, and it's straight up like a spear. What you see is what you get. A lot of this energy is about having the courage to stand alone and go our own way, do our own thing, dance to our own drum. Aries is highly independent after all, and it wants to do what's best for the self. We might also, this energy could prove challenging in that it can give us extreme burnout. That's something to be forewarned and forearmed for the week ahead in. Because Aries is a sprint. he is not the marathon runner at all. Aries is like, can see things that are, when Neptune's not causing fog, can see the finish line right in front of him. Boom, he's going to get there and it's going to be done. Even, we've got steadfast Saturn here, and I know Saturn is the marathon runner. This is still an energy this week of potential burnout, because we're trying to run a marathon. And it's been feeling like a marathon, hasn't it? Since we've been battling against this new world order that wants to bring in all these new global rules and digitization and so on and so on. I could go on and on about that. But it feels like a battle royal. It feels like we're at war with our governments, with the people creating these top-down regulations that are inhibiting our quality of life. This feels like an ongoing, never-ending battle. Aries energy could make us feel utterly burnt out, like the battle is just too hard. I can't keep going. Many of us just won't have the momentum to go the distance, maybe in our personal lives or in the collective description I've just given, where we're fighting against Agenda 2030 and what they're trying to impose on us by that time. I will talk more about that a little later in this video. A lot of us might also feel, as we initiate new things, that we just can't get it to the finish line because we burn out too soon. So again, be kind to yourself. Try to alleviate burnout by having a good balance. This is not a balanced chart. There's too much energy in the one sign. So you're going to have to consciously activate balance. Have a rest. Take a break. Don't over-exercise. Make sure you sit in the sunshine with your cup of tea, like I said earlier in this video, and relax a little. Be kind to yourself. This is actually very important so that we don't burn out at this time. I would encourage you also to keep an eye on the politics beyond the mainstream media analysis now. The mainstream media analysis is very propagandized, so you won't get the truth there. You won't find differing points of view that allow you to critically think what is the truth, okay? So given that there is so much emphasis here, and we have got Saturn, the governmental planet, Neptune, the dreams and ideals planet here, we've got the sun, the king, and let's call the moon, the energy of the queen, if you like, in this case. We've got so much going on in Aries politically. You're going to see it on, various news channels and things like that. But I just encourage you to diversify your where you get your news from, so that you can think critically and independently, Aries energy, and make up your own mind, Aries individual realizations and beliefs. You can make up your own mind about what is really going on and what is truth. You can only do that when you've got both sides of the coin, both sides of the story, and I just encourage that for everybody right now. In mundane world astrology, we're looking at a week of absolute global reset. What that's going to look like is anyone's guess. It's a period of that can be defined by sudden outbreaks of conflict. We're in the sign of war after all. But I just will point out with that topic, and a lot of astrologers are saying war is imminent. If you caught one of my recent videos, discussion with my husband David, and I think I did something also in my newsletter about it as well, Mars at the equinox was sitting in the jar of Aquarius, in the constellational art of the jar of Aquarius. When he's in the jar, and there's an ancient myth that corresponds to this, he cannot be active. He's like God Mars, shut down with a lid on the jar, and nothing can happen. So in some senses, that ancient myth of a contained Mars war god may be playing out right now. Mars is contained in the jar of Aquarius from the equinox chart, which lasts until solstice and maybe even until the next equinox as well. So when I say this is a period that could be defined by sudden outbreaks of conflict, there is also the hope that Mars in the equinox chart was contained. We may not see that. And in fact, let me just share with you, in 2020, I had received a prophecy. And it was quite incredible. But I was told that if humanity could avoid all-out war in 2026, the birth into a new, greater, enlightened age would come about. And my God, we're only a quarter of the way through. Let's hope we can get to the end of this year and see and keep Mars contained in the jar so that the prophecy can be fulfilled. Fingers and toes crossed, my friends. Okay, moving on from the idea of conflict that could break out this month. And I'll just say April is one of the most volatile months of the year. If we can get through April, we're going to have greater capacity to make it to the end of the year. All this energy in mundane astrology in the sign of Aries as well could herald some major technological breakthroughs or the rise of a powerful, singular new leader who emerges. And let's face it, we need a bit of good leadership at this time. Now, on this topic of mundane or world astrology, I just want to encourage you to check out my World Astrology with Kesenya YouTube channel. The link is in the description. And as I've already mentioned, the latest video there looks at all this planetary heat in a truly big picture analysis and how we might be rising back up, as I've just mentioned, into a new age that we haven't been in for quite some thousands of years. This video takes a really good look at what's going on with the cycles of time. It's far more hopeful than probably anything you've been hearing on mundane astrology channels thus far this year. Fingers and toes crossed that what I have to say floats your boat and comes true. All right, let's move now and have a look at what is happening with this Aries stellium for all signs. So let's kick things off with a look at Aries. Aries rising, Aries sun, Aries moon. What is happening for you with this energy so amped up in your first house? Well, you're going to be full of new initiative, of course, with Aries being highly activated this week. And that's going to come out in your behavior and your attitude. You're going to be, let's go, let's do, let's make it happen. Let's protest if we want to protest. Let's build something new. Let's start a new project. You are going to have that flowing through your attitude and your behavior. How you interact with your world around you is going to become even more Aries-like too. Absolutely authentic, courageous, straight up. It's all going to be Aries expression with everybody you meet, which is fantastic. It's exactly the positive expression of Aries that we really want to see. You know, this week, this stellium is all about moving towards a goal because it feels right. That's the Neptune influence in this stellium, rather than just moving towards a goal for ego-driven reasons. So it's actually about learning to express yourself because it feels right. Not about, well, I have to have these, fake this and fake that and, look like a 21-year-old when I'm turning 65. It's not about the ego in our physical body and our physical expression. It's rather moving towards a new physical expression, a new image, because it feels right. Whether that's letting your grey hair come through, or whether it's dyeing it a color that you feel is attractive for you. It's about what is feeling right. So there can be some new initiatives and new changes that you make to your physical expression, to your body, to how you are showing up image-wise in the world. You might even be making some very important changes to your wardrobe, to your hairstyle, to your dress and your presentation that actually just feel more right for you, my Aries friends. I find that really exciting. So yes, there's change on the horizon. Yes, there's new initiatives on the horizon with these things, but it's all for the sake of feeling into yourself, feeling the true you, rather than putting up a mask. So I'm excited. But this is also an energy of high pressure decision making that this stellium can bring about. So if you have to make decisions about how you're going to look, what you're going to wear, it could be feeling very pressurized. Maybe you've got a job interview coming up and you're like, okay, am I going to wear my navy blue suit, or am I going to go a little bit more outlandish and maybe have a bright yellow tie on or something like that? This is about, okay, well, what's the right decision here? And the choices that you make, the decisions that you're making are usually to do with your image and your presentation of self, your appearance, will actually have an energy of high pressure about them. There's something really, really important about what you decide to wear, how you decide to do your hair, how you decide to express in the world. So this is no trifling matter. It does indicate that there'll be something important in terms of events for you going on this week as well. So that could look like, maybe, as I've said, you've got a job interview, or you're going on a first date, or maybe you're meeting the in-laws or something like that. There is some sort of weight of destiny. Saturn's involved in this stellium after all. That is very, very important about something that's occurring for you this week, for which you want to look just right. So that is another energy of this stellium as well. Again, we've got to watch out for extreme burnout, as I said in the introductory piece to this video. And of course, extreme burnout in this case may very well have to do with actual physical burnout. This could look like exercising too much, or pushing your body too far, expecting too much of your body, burning the candle at both ends. Watch out for extreme burnout in the way you're using the body. So remember to be kind to yourself. Remember to give yourself some downtime, some rest time. It is necessary. So keep that in mind. Also, as we talked about in the introduction, don't forget to strive for win-win situations over bulldozing everybody to get your own way. So this is very much connected to relationships, contractual partnerships, because Libra is the opposite energy in the 7th house. And that's where things feel like they're lacking at the moment, because all the energy is in the opposite house to them. So, make sure that you think about the other person in relationships, not just about what your needs are. You might have to consciously and with effort strive to think about, well, what does my partner want? How can I please them in this situation? What does my business associate need out of this certain situation? If I sign this contract, how is it going to impact all the other people in my life? Try with conscious awareness to consider other people. Now, these planets here can really indicate some popularity for Aries people this week. A lot of success could be available, or a rebranding of yourself, or a business brand even as well, could be part of what is emerging. And again, we come back to what I was speaking of just earlier, having an authentic impression for your business brand, being believable, being trustworthy with your business brand, being believable, being trustworthy with whatever it is that's taking you to a new level of popularity and recognition, if that's something that you want. Health in Vedic astrology is also seen from the 1st house. So, I think the one thing to be aware of, as I said, is the burnout and the body just maybe taking on too much. But Mars is now in the 1st house. Yes, he's in his own sign, but when we're talking about health and well-being in the physical body and strength in the physical body, which is also a Vedic expression of the 1st house as well, we need to be very careful of cuts and burns, of pulling muscles and things like that, because of Mars being here. And there's just so much intensity in this 1st house of Aries this week that you just want to be very cautious about those sorts of effects, health effects. Also, rashes can crop up. Things like eczema might flare up, and inflammation as well in the body could be present because of Mars getting exacerbated in his own sign, the 1st house. He's a bit close to Saturn, and Saturn and Mars are, in medical astrology, 2 malefics that can cause a lot of trouble. A lot of heat, overheat with Mars, but also cooling to a detrimental effect with Saturn. And in the house of the body, you just want to be very careful to keep the balance. If you're exercising, don't let yourself get too overheated and dehydrated. This is actually probably one of the key things to think about, because Saturn is dry and cold and Mars is hot energy. So the chances of getting dehydrated from overdoing it this week are higher than usual. Do take the precautions that you need to. Have plenty of filtered water on hand, especially if the filtered water can get rid of the fluoride as well. So keep that in mind. That's where we're sitting for our Aries rising, sun and moon people in the week ahead. Now, I want to let you know, Aries, that readings with me are still on sale for April, and I still have 1 or 2 sessions open to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies this April. For everybody interested in world events, I have released a video on my other YouTube channel, World Astrology with Kesenya, exploring our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. If you want to check that out, if you want to like and subscribe to that channel, the link is in the description below. And while we're on the topic of Aries battle energy, fighting energy, I think it is pertinent for me to talk about not only the world politics, but the overall agenda of what is unfolding at this time. You know, while I was a town planner in Australia, I did my best to fight Aries energy against the Agenda 2030 that the New World Order and the Epstein class are trying to force on humanity. I've noticed since moving to California that they've already implemented a Agenda 2030 regulation called Proposition 19 that came in 2020, which fuels the housing affordability crisis that we're seeing everywhere in the Western world right now. And it's actually a tool towards the 2030 agenda that we've all known about, which is you will own nothing and be happy. Proposition 19 is a mechanism for achieving that in California. You know, I just want to, in the nature of Aries, Stellium, fighting for justice and righteousness, I want to let you know we have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners in California. There is a link in the description if you are in California and you would like to receive information from the people who are trying to return to the benefits of Proposition 13 this November. Sign up. Put your name onto the, when the time comes, put your name onto their agenda for that so that we can all fight the Epstein class. Maybe you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think it relates to astrology. My friends, we have a stellium in Aries right now. There has never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity than April 2026. We all need to do our bit for the world at large. Feel free, if you don't like what I talk about, to utilize other YouTube channels if all you want is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. But for those of you who want to see justice return to the people of America, in fact, the people of the world, and to overturn Agenda 2030, that evil Epstein class agenda, then please consider checking out the website link in the description below and joining me in the fight. Taurus rising, sun and moon people. It's your 12th house that's getting highly activated by the Aries stellium of energy this week. Of course, we have a new moon in Aries as well. I talk about that on my Patreon family, but we're really looking this week at all the heightened focus on your 12th house. What does this mean for you? Let me just say, Taurus, you are going to be so full of new initiative when it comes to hidden things. Maybe you're doing something in secret. Maybe it could look like having an affair. That could be a negative expression. And there's a high focus of energy on that affair this week. It could look like that you're working on a project behind the scenes or trying to build something behind the scenes or initiate something new behind the scenes. There is a heavy focus on these hidden secret things of the 12th house. Also, the 12th house in Vedic astrology has to do with debts, expenses, bargains. You know, you might actually be moving towards a goal of getting rid of a debt or an expense in some way. And you'll be wanting to get rid of it and alleviate it out of your life, not for your ego to feel like, hey, look at me, I'm so fabulous because I've got this amazing Gucci bag and I got it for a bargain, but more it's like I'm moving towards the goal of being debt-free because it feels lighter, it feels right, it feels spiritually on par with where we need to be in the world right now. So yeah, debts, expenses, bargains, it's very much about what feels spiritually right with your money at this time when there is this huge stellium in the sign of Aries, of course. So yeah, you'll be moving towards that goal for the right reasons. I could also suggest that there might be some high pressure decision making about a debt or expense. You know, this is a high pressure energy, 6 planets in your 12th house of debts, expenses and bargains, and you may be very much weighing up, should I buy this car? Should I sell this car and wipe out my debt? Should I be looking to consolidate all my credit cards and put them under one interest rate rather than having a million different interest rates. You will be looking to make a decision about finances in some way. Now, people don't often talk about the 12th house being a financial house in astrology, but in the Vedic astrology sense, yes, it does represent debts, expenses, and bargains, not money that you've got to burn. So you will be thinking about, how am I going to handle this debt? How am I going to handle this expense? And trying to make a decision around that this week. What that decision should be, only you will know, but it might be a good idea to get some advice, some wisdom, because let me just say that opposite Aries is Libra. Libra is the sign of the advisor, the counselor, the wisdom giver. And instead of feeling, that full Aries stellium energy of I've got to make a decision myself around this debt or this expense, I would suggest consciously utilizing Libra empty energy and seeking out someone who can give you some wise guidance. That's so Libran. Do feel around for somebody who's got the right knowledge that you need regarding your particular debt or expense. You might find that it is the best thing you've ever done at helping you make a decision, make a choice that benefits you going forward into the future. You need to watch out for burnout. Now, I've just been speaking to the Aries crowd who will have this in the house of the body and physical burnout. But in this 12th house, it could be burnout because you're just not getting enough sleep. Maybe you've got insomnia with all this energy in the 12th house, or maybe you're having wild, warlike dreams at this time. I'm not a Taurus person, but I've been having dreams about soldiers for the last few nights, actually, before I recorded this. And it's got me quite concerned. I keep seeing these terrible situations soldiers are being put in. So, we need to be paying attention to our dreams, absolutely. But it can also see us waking up exhausted, not getting the good night's sleep that our body and soul needs. This is the house of sleep. This is the house of our dream life. So watch out for being burnt out there. Have some strategies for going into a state of peace. I don't know if listening to white noise helps you to sleep better, or having a nice little lavender bag under your pillow that you can smell that releases those nice endorphins that the beautiful scent of lavender can bring about. It's a sleep-inducing herb, which is fantastic. These sorts of strategies are great to help alleviate extreme burnout due to lack of sleep or poor sleep. Also, I've already mentioned this, but don't forget to strive for win-win situations. You don't have to go it alone with your decision-making that is connected to the 12th house. And this can be also connected to the angels and the ancestors, higher beings on the other side. You can actually reach out to them and ask for guidance and support and wisdom, as well as your physical relatives or wisdom givers too. The 12th house is actually the house of those who've gone on before, those who've crossed over to the other side, who watch over us. And so you actually can achieve more balanced life situations by seeking wisdom and guidance from the divine. Now, that might look like getting a reading from a channeler or a psychic or an astrologer. These are good things to do for our Taurus people under this energy, absolutely. And can be very sort of spiritually awakening for you. And the advice and wisdom that you get from these people who connect with the other dimensions and the other side can be very worthwhile guidance to have. It is a moksha or liberation house, so there might be some letting go that is activated extensively because of this stellium as well. This is the key to doing this. The key to letting go well and not clinging to things is to practice acceptance. Okay, I accept that this is my situation, and now I feel the relief because I'm not battling it or fighting my life situation. It's very interesting. It's almost a contradictory energy because because the liberation or moksha house requires acceptance, and yet Aries wants to fight to win. So whatever your life situation right now, Taurus, there could be a little bit of a tug of war going on, where you are wanting to practice acceptance, but the Aries energy is saying, no, let's fight, let's dig in, let's try and hang on to things and win our circumstances. But remember, this is a moksha house. I think not for everybody, but for Taurus people, this is a week where letting go is actually the better choice. Walking away, putting up a boundary, putting down, a parameter that says, don't cross this line. I'm going to honor myself and care for myself and do so by letting go of a certain circumstance or a certain person or a certain environment that needs to be released. So practice acceptance, practice letting go as over and above fighting and battling so much this week, a situation. This is a house of karma and our past life experiences. So I think that's going to be highly activated for Taurus people as well. You might have some sort of behavioral habit or attitude or belief that you've had for your whole life long, that comes bubbling up in you, that causes you to weigh up the choices you've made in life. You'll probably be going back over, I think. There's so much energy in this 12th house. So going back over the choices you've made in life, the decisions that you have made that have led you to where you are. This is a good thing to do. I would encourage you to maybe write do some automatic writing about those things or journaling about those things that you are reviewing in your life. This energy of 6 planets in the 12th house is very much causing you to go into your past and review your past. Sit with it. Let it go where required. Develop moksha liberation where required, or address things that you swept under the rug and need to be revisited as required. So these are some of the things that might be happening. Lots of past life experiences, either this life or another lifetime, popping up in your experience. Maybe you get goosebumps because you feel like you've been here before. There's deja vu happening all the time. Your dream life is very active. It's a very psychological energy for our Taurus friends this week. So do take the time out that you need to chill, relax, and rest. Remember that the 12th house is also about escapism. Can be holidays, can be retreats, can be even just taking time out to imagine and daydream. If you tap into that energy, you'll cope so much better with what this week has in store for you, my Taurus friends. Now, I want to let you know, Taurus, that readings with me are still on sale for April, and I have 1 or 2 sessions left to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies if you would like to book a reading with me. And for anybody interested in world politics or world events, I've released a video on my other YouTube channel, which is called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I explore our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. If you're interested in that, the link's in the description below. And while I'm on the topic of world politics, and while we're talking Aries fighter energy, while I was a town planner in Australia, I did my best to fight against the Agenda 2030 and the New World Order that the Epstein class is trying to force on humanity at this time. Here in California, I have discovered that they've already implemented a tool called Proposition 19, which came out in 2020, which fuels this housing affordability crisis that we're seeing. It is a tool, a mechanism of the Epstein class to bring about the you will own nothing and be happy Agenda 2030 that nobody wants. But friends, we have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners here in California. There is a link in the description if you're in California and you would like to receive information on how we go about returning to the benefits we had before 2020 that Proposition 13 brought about. We're going to be dealing with that in California this November. Now, maybe you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think it relates to astrology. Friends, aside from the fact this is in your 12th house, we have a stellium in Aries, the war god sign right now. There has never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity than right now. And if we don't fight, the Epstein class will win. If you don't like what I'm saying here, if you don't like the idea of standing up against those that are destroying humanity, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels if all you want is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Gemini rising, sun and moon people. This week we are looking at this massive warring soldier, warrior, hero energy falling in your 11th house, the stellium in Aries that is forming, that we're really going to feel on a personal and global scale. What's it going to do for you in the 11th house? Well, let me just say, you're going to have so much new initiative that you can implement into the 11th house. This means you might be feeling all fired up to go and join some groups and some clubs or some new social circles. And that can be anything. Maybe you decide to join a political cause. Fantastic use of this energy. Maybe you decide to go and join a local dance class and make some new friends and develop some new networks in a social sphere, in a fun sphere. Great energy to do that as well. The 11th house is a house that has to do with dancing, after all, in Vedic astrology. So that would be fantastic. But joining some groups and organizations and clubs, finding new friendships, finding new mentors and motivators are really part of what is on the cards for you this week. And you will be really G'd up to go and make that happen. Also, you'll find that you'll have a much more authentic approach to your friendships. You know, in high school, I observed that a lot of people would put on a certain persona to try and fit in with a certain social group. That's not what this energy is all about. This is about being mature and grown up about it. Even though Aries is a very youthful energy, it is about being authentic. It is about being straight up. This is who I am. Do I fit in your social circle or not? I do. Fantastic. I'm staying. If I don't, I'm out of here. So very much it's about getting authentic with your friendships. So if you've got friendships that you have to pretend to be somebody when you're around them, those friendships might actually fall away because of this energy. This is an energy of severing. Mars is here. Mars is to cut. So you might cut out friendships that aren't authentic, that aren't straight up, or where you can't be truly and fully yourself. I love that this is an energy for Gemini people. You know, I really, I value my authentic friendships, my real friendships where people just say what they think, whether it's on par with what I think or not, that's okay. So yeah, this is really part of the focus. This is also, as we know, the house of our dreams and goals, our major ambitions and desires in life. It's a desire house in Vedic astrology. So it is about moving towards these goals that we've had more courageously now, more energetically. So what have you been dreaming of accomplishing in your life? What has your goal been? Maybe, I don't know, it could have been a goal that you've had for the last 6 months. It could have been a goal you've had for the last 6 years. What is your goal in life? What do you dream of accomplishing? This could be in a career, but it could be in any other realm as well. Maybe you have a dream of a beautiful home, or maybe you have a dream of finding your tribe of people who are like-minded to build community with. Whatever it is, your dreams and goals and ambitions have more of a chance of succeeding this week and really getting some momentum because of this massive stellium in the sign of Aries. And indeed, you'll probably be initiating a lot of action towards the achievement and goals, achievement of your goals and dreams as well. I also noticed that this Aries stellium is about moving towards a goal because it feels right, because it feels aligned, you know? It's not just, well, I need to, publish this book because then I'll be a big person and everybody will respect me. It's not about that. That may be a thing in your life, but it's more about, well, look, if I publish this book, I'm going to feel like I have achieved my goal. I have fulfilled some longing in my heart. It feels spiritually right rather than I'm going to get a pat on the back. So this is the difference that this Aries stellium is all about. It's about, because Neptune is in this stellium, it's about doing what feels spiritually aligned rather than just, hey, look at me, here I am, everybody, with whatever goal or dream or ambition that you have. So it could be a good week to evaluate, why am I going for this goal? What is the deep down desire here? What is the deep down purpose here? And is it truly aligned with righteousness and goodness and kindness and all the qualities that we want to embody as beautiful human beings who are living good karma. So do some evaluation. You know, Gemini energy is all about perhaps doing some journaling around this, writing down, okay, my goals, my dreams, what is really underneath my desire to achieve certain goals, certain dreams now. I would also suggest that this is a week when there might be some high pressure decision making going on. That might have to do with certain circumstances that are very 11th house. Are you going to go to the big concert where everybody seems to be going this week, or the big basketball tournament, or whatever it is? Because 11th house has to do with where large groups gather, and you might have to make a decision about whether you're going to participate in that large group environment or not. I also had come up in my Instagram feed just before I did this video. I see that there's a really fantastic protest happening. I think it's in Washington, D.C. this week. Protesting in front of the Supreme Court about Bayer, who own Monsanto, and the glyphosate cancer damages that they cause. Sorry, I'm talking all over the shop here, but there seems to be a protest forming to protest against the Supreme Court bailing out Bayer for their 177 cancer litigations that are currently in play. And absolutely the government should not be bailing out a corporation like that. They've got more profit and more money than your everyday schmo on the street, and they can absolutely take responsibility for the damage that they've caused to people's lives. So if there's an example, you might be deciding of, okay, I'm going to go and protest alongside these people in front of the Supreme Court this week against Bayer. Go for it if you are, and I'm going to cheer for you if that's what you're doing this week. But my point is not about protesting, even though this is a house of activism and a house of sticking it to the man and standing up for human justice and human righteousness, and that's why I mentioned this. But it's about making, with the Aries stellium here, it's about making a decision to go and do so, you know? There might be a lot of pressure around, will I, won't I? Is this a good thing to go and protest or not? Or what am I going to go protest about because I'm really in the zone for sticking it to the man this week? Aries energy in the 11th house, I mean, could it be any better? Absolutely, that's about taking the warrior stance for some important cause for humanity. And so, yeah. You might be really getting that on this week, my beautiful Gemini friends. But you also might have some high-pressure decision-making to make around things like your stepchildren. Stepchildren are seen from the 11th house, or your children-in-law. There might be some decisions you need to make about such people in your life. This could be decisions that have to be made around friendships, and you might feel a lot of high pressure about these choices, these decisions that you have to make pertaining to these people. This is also the 8th house from the 4th, so it's about changes in our mother's life, and that might tie into some sort of decision making that you have to make. Gemini, there could be some decision that you have to make regarding a change that's happening in your mother's life at this time as well. This is the house of our friends because it's the 6th house from the 6th, the enemies of our enemies, which are our friends, you know. They've got our back. They're supporting us. They're cheering for us. And so there might be, as I said, some decisions to be made about our friendships and about, letting go of people who don't have our back, who are not acting like our friends, who are actually acting more like our enemies, and putting them into the enemy box rather than keeping them in the friendship box. So there could be some decision making around that as well. Watch out for extreme burnout, I would suggest too. This is a house that has to do with socialization. It's a very social house. Large-scale social activities such as protesting, such as networking and things like that are seen from the 11th house. And this energy is the sprint, not the marathon, too much of hanging around, networking, or too much of immersing yourself in your friendships, or too much of going to protests day after day after day could burn you out. So just watch out for extreme social burnout in some circumstance this week. And maybe if you need to, take time out to relax and chill and isolate and get your mojo back. Don't forget as well, opposite Aries is Libra, and that is a very empty energy this week. We need to consciously move towards Libra energy and strive for win-win situations in our life over bulldozing everybody to get our way. So that might mean, seeing as Libra is in the 5th house opposite the 11th, that we need to strive for win-win situations with our children, with our lovers, because that's what the 5th house represents. We might be trying to balance things with these people in our life. Balance maybe our children with our stepchildren, trying to find a win-win situation. So don't be too one-sided in those circumstances. If you have children and stepchildren and you're trying to achieve a win-win situation, remember, it's not just all about your children, or it's not just all about your partner's children. There has to be a balance and equal fairness. And that might be harder to achieve this week for some reason or another because of Aries stellium energy opposing the Libran house, which is empty. So keep that in mind as you go through this week, if you're dealing with those sort of social circumstances, with the friendship circumstances, but also with children. It's very, very, very important. Children notice when we don't treat everybody fairly with the same rules and regulations or boundaries, etc. That's what I'm seeing, generally speaking, in a nutshell, for our Gemini friends for the 3rd week of April. But I want to let you know that readings with me are still on sale for the month of April, and I still have 1 or 2 sessions open in April to help you understand what is happening in your astral skies if you need it. For those of you Gemini people, and I know you are, because Gemini people seem to always be very interested in world events and what's going on and where the news is, I want to let you know that I've released a video on my other YouTube channel, which is called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I explore our current world political situation from an astrological perspective, and the link to go and check that video out is in the description below. Now, while I'm on the topic of world politics, I want to talk about Aries fighter energy, warrior, hero, Wonder Woman, Princess of Mars, John Carter, Superman kind of energy. Fighting for the good fight. While I was a town planner in Australia, I did my best to fight against Agenda 2030 and the New World Order that the Epstein class is trying to force upon humanity. Here in California, I have seen that they've already implemented a mechanism to fuel this Agenda 2030 and it's you will own nothing and be happy ideal. In California, they've implemented in the year 2020 something called Proposition 19, and this is fueling the housing affordability crisis. And like I said, it's a tool towards the control of Agenda 2030, people owning nothing and having to rent everything. We actually have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners. There's a link in the description below. If you're in California and you would like to receive information on how we can return to the benefits of Proposition 13, which is going to be on the cards this November, then check out that website. It's got all the details and sign-ups, etc. that you need to know. Hey, if you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class, or you don't think it relates to astrology, let me just say, we've got a stellium in Aries right now. There's never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity and humanity's freedom than April 2026. It's not just happening in the political arenas. We need to do it as the people. We need to rise up as the people right now. If you're not into that, then feel free to utilize other YouTube channels. If all you want is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. But if you're going to tap into this Aries fighter energy and work for the good of humanity, let's do what we can. Let's sign, let's protest, let's show up and defend our way of life, which is so precarious right now. Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon people. Here we are with a monster stellium in the sign of Aries. What does this mean for us in this coming week? Well, it means a lot. It means we're in this warrior hero energy. I'll talk more about that later. But what does it mean for us when it's happening in our 10th house? Well, this is the house of our father in Western astrology, and generally speaking, it's the house of our parents-in-law as well. So with these people, our father or our parents-in-law, we need to really strive for win-win situations as much as possible. There might be some argy-bargy with these people this week. There might be some clashes. There might be a bit of a tug of war, because if you look at the chart, you'll see the stellium is in the 10th house and there is nothing in the 4th house. And so there's this tug of war with these people. We need to consciously activate Libran energy by knowledge, by knowingly instigating win-win situations with the people of the 10th house. So try to be fair, try to balance things out in your dealings with your father, in your dealings with your parents-in-law, and I might also add with your bosses as well, or people who are in authority over you. It is going to require some Herculean effort to really maintain a win-win situation with these people this week. So when you feel like everything's going to the juice and there's all these clashes going on with these people, remind yourself, Aries in the 10th house energy. Okay, I know what to do. I'm going to keep the calm. I'm going to keep the cool. You know, my children and I, but my children, we had a policy at the dinner table. We would not talk about politics, just to keep the energy at dinner when we're eating and sharing about our day upbeat and positive. And even though, you know, I love to talk about politics and I can get very political, it was actually a really good implementation to have, because it allowed my children to freely be themselves and talk about what was interesting and pertinent to them and what they were interested in life, rather than being dominated by political drama, you know. So anyhow, come back to authenticity and win-win situations and try not to stoke the fire and the flame with our parents-in-law and bosses and authority figures this week. We really need to practice in our careers this week being authentic and straight up and honest and real. I mean, with Aries energy, what you see is what you get. And any pretense, any sort of hiding the truth doesn't fly this week. So we need to really be an example to others. 10th house is our example to others. We need to display authenticity and courageousness and straight upness in order to be successful, because this is the house of success. If you want to be successful this week, you've got to be real. You've got to be true. No pretending. If you want a position of leadership, you've got to be real. You've got to be straight up. You've got to be authentic. Let's face it. I'm going to get political now, but many of our politicians are so fake. They're just acting a part. And that's not going to fly this week. I think we could see some serious repercussions for politicians who are just, you know, brown-nosing or trying to, you know, pretend to be one thing when they're actually doing another behind our backs. That is just not going to work. There will be some repercussions for our politicians this week if they do that. Maybe repercussions from our Cancer rising sun and moon people who just won't tolerate it anymore and have had a gutful. Fair enough. Okay, so what else is going on in the 10th house? Well, the 10th house is our career and what we're doing to achieve in the world, the aims and goals we have for our worldly success. So it's not just where the 11th house is our goals and dreams for our life, which could be anything. Oh, I want to have some children, or I want a white picket fence with some roses on it, or whatever it happens to be that is our goal and dream. That's 11th house. The 10th house is our aspirations and goals and dreams for worldly success. It's quite different. So, we're asking ourselves this week, what do we want to do to be successful in life? What do we need to activate to be successful, and what does that success look like? And we're going to take more initiative towards achieving those things. We're going to take new strides forward towards whatever those successes are, those goals and dreams for our worldly success. We're going to move towards it now. And we're going to move towards those things. We have lots of energy to put towards it. We have lots of initiation. We have lots of creativity because of the stellium in Aries to put towards moving towards those goals. But we want to do so and achieve these goals not just because we want to get a pat on the back or we want people to see us and hey, look at me. It's Neptune is part of this stellium, and Neptune makes us want to move towards these goals because it feels like the right thing to do. It is the honorable thing to do, regardless of the consequences. That's Neptune energy. And so what career goals and dreams do you have, and what is behind those goals and dreams? Is it because you want everybody to say you're wonderful and let me pat you on the back and stuff? Or is it because it just is the right thing to do to achieve that in the world, to give that piece of you to the world, to bring that knowledge, that wisdom, that skill, that creativity, that capacity to the world? Also, this is an energy for decision making, but it's high pressure decision making. There's a weight of destiny around the choices that we make regarding career this week. Now, some people might say that this is an energy for changing careers because Mars is an energy of cutting and severing the cords, and your boss pisses you off and you're like, that's it, I'm out of here, I'm going to go start my own company. F him, and you cut the cords between you and your boss. But it's a decision that, you don't want to go into with, reactivity. There's a high pressure decision making. Like, are you going to survive? Are you going to pay your mortgage? Are you going to be able to feed your family if you make that choice? The pressure is high. You're going to want to make a choice. You're going to want to make a decision about your career and the current direction that it's going. And you probably will want to initiate a big change as well. But it is a high pressure decision. So don't be too much in too much of a rush, because Saturn's part of this stellium energy too. There is a weight of destiny about the choices that you're making as well. And there's an impact upon your wealth and prosperity that has to be considered too. Watch out for extreme burnout with Aries energy. Aries energy is the sprint. It's running very fast to get to the end quickly. It's not about the marathon. So with that in mind, career burnout is possible. Maybe you've come to the end of your rope with everything you've been doing and not getting the recognition that is deserved or the remuneration that you deserve, and you're just burnt out and you're done. This Aries energy stellium could see you reaching that burnout point. Again, that comes back to this high pressure, weight of destiny decision making that you might need to make. I would just encourage you, if you're in that situation, to reach out to the Libran people to balance this energy. And you can see Libra down there in the 4th house. Family. What's your family got to say? Ask your mum what she got to say. Ask somebody who is in a maternal role in your life what they think of the choices that you're facing, and how to handle the burnout personally that you're dealing with, career-wise, that is. So try and balance things by getting, it's pretty straightforward, this work-life balance. Life is the word we use to designate 4th house things: our family, our emotional well-being, our home life, feeling safe, feeling secure in the world. And the 10th house is all about going out in the world. How do we balance that? So don't forget to reach out to your family this week and engage with your family. Ask your family if you're facing a big decision, and balance that energy out of the 10th house consciously. You will have to do it consciously because the pull is where the planets are. The pull is to the career. The pull is to leadership. The pull is to leaving a legacy. That's where we want to focus. That's where we want to go. And choosing family time can feel very difficult during this energy, but it's actually healthy. And it creates more balance in your life so that you can make the right choices, so that things do feel spiritually right. And ultimately, when we balance things out, the success that we seek in the 10th house comes more naturally anyway, because we're in a better space. So keep that in mind. That's what I'm seeing for our Cancer, rising, sun and moon people. I want to let you know, Cancer, that readings with me are still on sale for the month of April, and I have 1 or 2 sessions open in April itself to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies. For my Cancer friends who are interested in world events, I also have released a video on my other YouTube channel called World Astrology with Kesenya. It explores our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. If you're interested in that, the link is in the description below. And while I'm on the topic of world politics, this is an Aries fighter, hero, warrior energy. When I was a town planner in Australia years ago, I did my very best to fight against the incoming Agenda 2030 and the New World Order that this Epstein class is trying to force on humanity. Since I've moved to California, I have seen that they have already implemented something called Proposition 19, which fuels the housing affordability crisis, and it's a tool towards this 2030 agenda, which is all about you will own nothing and be happy. Yay! Oh my God, I hate that so much. And therefore I hate Proposition 19 because it's all about forcing people into rental situations. You know what? We have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and homeowners in California. There is a link in the description if you are in California and you would like to receive information on how we can return to the benefits of Proposition 13 rather than the demise from Proposition 19. Maybe you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think it relates to astrology. Well, friends, we have a stellium in Aries right now. There's never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity than April 2026. It's time. If we don't do it now, we could lose all the things we love about being human on the planet. Believe me, they don't have good things in store for us unless we fight and take a stand. Aries, stellium energy. Let's be at Wonder Woman. If you don't like what I'm saying, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels, and there I'm sure you'll be able to get your sunshine, lollipops and rainbows and keep your head in the sand about what's happening in the world. Leo, my lovely Leos, I'm so excited because you are having this stellium of powerful energy falling in your 9th house this week. Hello, warrior energy in the blessed and highly prophetic 9th house. Whew, what does that mean? Well, firstly, you're going to be full of new initiative relating to 9th house things. This could be you deciding you're going to take a holiday or go overseas or go to another culture or even just book an event at a culturally different restaurant or something like that. You're going to take initiation and be on the front foot with those things. You could also take initiation around maybe doing a university course or getting some sort of higher knowledge. Maybe you decide to study Ayurveda. Maybe you decide that you're going to go and do an astrology course. These are all higher knowledge and higher wisdom. It doesn't have to be, I've got to go to Stanford or I've got to go to, Yale or something like that just to be able to be doing some higher 9th house work. It can be studying an astrology course online, but the knowledge itself is the higher wisdom. And you're going to be full of initiative in that direction. Also, there could be some initiative regarding communication with the gods, because you know what? This is a house of communication with the gods. So you might be doing a lot more praying this week, a lot more maybe connecting with other people of like mind and really just trying to feel into the same energy and talk to spirit about certain circumstances that are on your heart and soul and mind. You know, the Bible says, wherever two or more are gathered together, there I'm in their midst. And it's an energetic explanation for what happens when we align our spirits for some belief or some ideal that we have. So find some like-minded people and initiate a connection, maybe a prayer group if you want to call it that, or a meditation group where you can really amplify your energy and your beliefs to create the world that you want to create. We should all be doing this right now. It's actually a really great time to be working that way with the energies. I do see that there is potentially the chance to be very authentic and courageous and maybe straight up with somebody who's a teacher, somebody who is a guru to you. So maybe, I don't know why you'd need to be courageous with the guru. Maybe you need courage to go and approach them and interact with them because you've had them on a pedestal for so long. So maybe that's what this energy represents. You getting the courage this week to go and interact with that person of inspiration, that person you look up to and you revere. So that could be on the cards. But also some of you might, this is the house of our philosophers and wisdom givers and teachers, you might need to be authentic and straight up with a teacher or a wisdom giver in some way, shape or form. Maybe you need to say it as it is to this person. Maybe you need to lay it on the line with this person. This energy is here to support you if that's the situation that you find yourself in. Also, this is a house that, this is an energy, this stellium in Aries, where we really want to move towards our goals because it feels right, rather than just moving towards our goals for ego-driven reasons. Now, how does this apply to the ninth house? Well, this is the house of finding our truth, really understanding what we believe in and our true foundation of morals and ethics. So rather than sort of, maybe we could replace the word goals here with moving towards our new beliefs and embracing our new goal, our new ethics and morals and principles and philosophies because they actually feel right, rather than just, oh my gosh, I'm going to stick to my guns with what I have always believed and always said because I don't want to be embarrassed by changing course or changing my tune. For many Leo people, there may actually be a crisis situation, if you like, of sorts, that causes you to say, well, look, now I have to align with this new belief, this other belief, this particular source of wisdom, and I have to walk away from what I always stood for in the past because it no longer stacks up. So this is about not just clinging to our ego regarding beliefs or regarding religion or spirituality, but moving towards something that is actually the truth, that is actually what is right for our soul at this time. Don't be afraid to make the change. Mars is in this stellium, and Mars is to get rid of the old things that we don't align with anymore in terms of our philosophies and beliefs. So, and Neptune here says it's time to move towards something that feels like an ideal, that feels like true spirituality, rather than just hanging on to our ego. So do keep that in mind when it comes to your beliefs and the principles for how you want to live your life or what you want to align with. This is also a high pressure environment for decision making. Now, a lot of Leo people, and many Leo people are just naturally in positions of leadership because Leo is such a high leadership energy. Many Leo leaders in the world might be very much under a high pressure environment to make a choice, to make a decision this week regarding potentially something that has to do with truth. If you're a Leo leader, do you speak the truth? Do you come out and say what's really happening? Do you stand firm in your principles, in your morals regarding a certain situation as a leader? High pressure environment for making a decision and a choice about how you're going to fully align with your beliefs. Now, I can think of one leader who's a Leo who might have to, deal with that kind of scenario this week. But as for the rest of us, as Leos, including me, I'm a Leo sun, we might face a situation this week where we are sort of pressured to stick to our guns regarding our beliefs and not back down. And this isn't about just for ego. We're sticking to our guns because it feels right, this belief, this source of wisdom. I just encourage you, though, when it comes to what you believe in, let's steer away from dogmatism and let's try and embrace this Libran energy of win-win. Libra has been completely locked out of this week's energy because there are no planets in Libra and all the energies in the opposite sign, Aries. So when it comes to beliefs, don't be dogmatic. Try and listen to what other people have to say. Try and give their voice a chance to be heard. Try to, hold it up and see how that ideal or that philosophy sort of fits with you. And even if you don't want to align with it, allow other people the space to believe what they believe and to, honor their own knowledge from their life experience. So yes, there is this need for win-win situations regarding our beliefs. It's not always easy to do. Especially when things are so precarious and so dire that our belief systems can really impact the state of the world right now. Yeah, but do try and be gracious. Embrace some of that Libra energy. I do see that there is some potential for change this week and momentum this week if you are dealing with visas or some sort of immigration situation or something like that, which I'm doing. So I feel that this is actually a supportive energy for me to get a lot of my visa applications done and to sort out some of those sort of more legalistic kind of things that we have to do when we go and live in another country or we travel to another country. The ninth house has to do with visa matters and relocation energy. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis on that for Leo people for some of you. You know, you might be dealing with a visa situation and trying to sort it out, trying to, you know, dot your I's, cross your T's regarding those sorts of things. And, you know, this can even indicate that there is a lot of travel on the cards for many Leo people as well, where you're going on a trip or you're going to a faraway place for some reason or another. That could really be on the cards also. I do want to just also suggest, my beautiful Leo friends, that you need to watch out for burnout if you are traveling. You know, jet lag sucks, can I just say? And there's been times when I've traveled the world and, you know, it hasn't been restful, it hasn't been peaceful, it hasn't been a retreat. It's not very 12th house kind of travel. It's very high pressure. It's very, you know, get up, see this site, go to this restaurant, go to bed, get up and travel to the new place the next day. It's just boom, 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 boom. Traveling can be tiring. So I just want to suggest that this is the house of travel. You need to watch out for travel burnout for some of you Leo people. Also, it could express as burnout because the Aries energy is the sprint, not the long haul. If you are studying something, you might be, you know, racing through it for the first week or two, whatever course it is you're doing. And then you don't have what it takes to get to the end. You like burn out fast, like a, you know, what do they call it? A meteor entering Earth's atmosphere. Boof, fire and then gone. So really try to be aware that there could be some burnout regarding some sort of study, maybe some sort of travel, and try to mitigate that by pacing yourself, by balancing the energy, by not taking on too much and spreading things out so that you can get there in the long term rather than trying to get it all done all at once. Okay, that's what I'm seeing for our beautiful Leo friends. I want to remind you, Leo, that there are readings with me still on sale at the moment, so you can get a bargain. And I still have 1 or 2 sessions open to help you understand what is happening in your astral skies this April. For those who are interested in world events, I have released a video on my other YouTube channel called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I explore our current world political situation from an astrological perspective, and the link to that is in the description below. And while I'm on the topic of world politics and beliefs with Aries oomph, I need to talk about something that I've noticed is unfolding, and it's very important that we stand up and fight for righteousness, justice and truth and our beliefs right now. When I was a town planner in Australia, I did my best to fight against the incoming Agenda 2030 and the New World Order that the Epstein class is trying to force onto humanity. If you don't know about that, I suggest you really start researching it because it is actually not good, despite what the UN might tell us. Here in California, they have already implemented Proposition 19. Now, this was a tool that they used in 2020 to bring about Agenda 2030, or to move towards Agenda 2030, where we will own nothing and be happy. Oh my God, isn't that the most horrendous statement you've ever heard? Proposition 19 actually fuels the housing affordability crisis that we are seeing everywhere around us. And as I said, it's a tool of this idea that we're going to own nothing and we'll have to rent everything from the Epstein class. You know what, friends? We have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners here, particularly in California. And if you're interested in joining the fight, Aries Stellium energy for this, then there's a link in the description below. And if you'd like to receive information on how to return to the benefits of Proposition 13, check that out. It's a much better offering for the human beings and the families living in California. Maybe you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class, Leo. Maybe you don't think this relates to astrology at all. Well, I'll point out to you, we have a stellium in Aries, the warrior, the hero, the war god right now. There has never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity than April 2026. It's not just happening in the political arena. We need to be fighting it as the people as well. Or else we're going to end up with Agenda 2030 and we're going to be living in a communist nightmare. So my friends, if you don't think if you think I'm talking smack, well, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels if all you want is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows and your head in the ground. For those of you who are passionate about saving our world for good, this is the month to fight for it. And I've just given you one mechanism that you can use to do so. Virgo rising, Virgo sun, Virgo moon people. This is your reading for this third week of April, and what a week it's going to be. We have this stellium in Aries in your 8th house. This is where you're going to be putting a lot of new initiative, new beginnings. So it could be that you decide to take on some study of 8th house topics. Maybe you start looking into, criminal psychology, or maybe you start studying secret societies. Maybe you start researching traditional shamanic magic or mystical practices. Maybe you decide you're going to do a Reiki course or a psychology course, or maybe you're going to study astrology. The inspiration for doing such things and taking initiative into these 8th house matters is very, very strong this week, and I encourage you to pursue it. There's not been a better time to work with that energy for good like that. I also see that energy, Aries is a fast energy. And this is the house of fast changes, dramatic reversals, getting out of a rut, shocking events. And I can see that this might actually bring about a level of burnout for you as you deal with some upheavals, Virgo, that may not usually be in your life. Forewarned, forearmed about this. Life might be changing so rapidly for our Virgo friends. I want to just encourage you to chill for a bit, however you can, whether that's taking a bath and Epsom salts, or taking time out to have a proper meal. Do what you need to avoid burnout from all the changes that are happening in your life, all the upheavals, all the life reversals. And maybe some challenges as well, because with this emphasis of planets in the 8th house, there can be a few more catastrophes or accidents or shocking events. So make sure that you give yourself the space to recover and avoid that burnout from dealing with those things. I want to also mention that the energy of this stellium is about moving towards something because it feels like it's the right thing to do. And that might mean, you might get inspired, like, an epiphany or a psychic download or something like that, you want to learn about omens, and understand what omens are all about. Or maybe you want to get an astrology reading or go to see a Reiki practitioner. It's not just about studying these things, it's about getting the benefit of these 8th house things. And if you feel inspired or motivated in those directions, I'm going to go and have a visit with my psychologist, or I'm going to go and see this shaman or something like that, then dig into your soul and say, really sit with it. Is this the right thing for me in this moment at this time? You'll know if you listen to your heart. It will guide you towards the right practitioner for your situation, the right psychic, the right channeler, the right Reiki practitioner, whatever it is. Listen to your heart now, because all this energy in the 8th house is going to guide you to the right person, especially Neptune energy, which wants you to be spiritually aligned at this time. This is also a high-pressure environment for decision-making. So I hate to say it, Virgo, but some of you might be weighing up, and this is a weight of destiny with Saturn here. You might be weighing up some sort of intimate relationship. Is it for you, or is it time to let it go? Has it run its course? And of course, that brings a lot of pressure into our lives as we weigh up, do I have to let this person go? Should I walk away from this? There's a high pressure decision-making energy regarding some sort of intimacy or a relationship that involves intimacy. It could manifest in a different way as well, Virgo, where you are weighing up and making some decisions maybe around some sort of sexual dynamic or sexual expression that you are trying to decide, is that right for me? Is that not right for me? Do I go down that road of doing that particular activity, or do I choose instead to take a different course? So some sort of sexual expression might be putting a lot of pressure on you and causing a lot of stress for making a decision in that regard. There could also be some sort of a heavy decision-making energy regarding some sort of monetary situation as well. And by monetary situation, I'm talking about other people's resources. You know, maybe you have to make a decision about some kind of property inheritance, or a decision about a will that you want to leave for somebody, you know, or leave for people, and you have to make a call about what you're going to leave for your, you know, your children and your grandchildren, and it's high pressure and it's lots of decisions, and, you know, is everybody going to be happy? So that could be on the cards this week as well. There could be some high pressure decisions that you need to face as well regarding some sort of mortgage or loan or big business event, big business occurrence. This is also, there's a couple of houses that have to do with the stock market, and you might also be weighing up stock market investments and so forth as well, or investing for other people potentially, because this is the house of other people's money. It's also a house of accountancy, because it's the house of managing other people's money. So you might be facing some big decisions if you are an accountant, or if you're managing other people's money, or if you're making stock decisions for other people. There is a high pressure energy this week. Maybe that high pressure is coming from external circumstances. You know, maybe Wall Street goes through a wild time this week, and you have to face, I'm an investor. Do I, you know, buy now, or do I sell now? And it's high pressure. So that's what I mean by this house has to do with the stock market, because it represents the people who manage other people's money on the stock market, not because it's about investing, you know, your money. So if you're a stockbroker, if you're an accountant, that sort of thing, there could be a lot of pressure at this time as well. If you're trying to decide about a loan, as I said, this could also bring a lot of pressure into your life. I think I mentioned burnout due to crisis situations, but burnout due to the financial pressures. Maybe your wife is struggling with an overblown credit card, and that's putting a lot of pressure on you. Her financial situation is represented by the 8th house, and you're like, oh my God, you know, how do I deal with this? I'm burnt out with trying to handle her, you know, her gambling addiction or her shopping addiction or whatever. Other people's money and how they deal with it that impacts us. It could be, there's many different scenarios for that. Maybe there's burnout with handling the financial affairs of your mother who needs to go into an old age care home, or maybe you're burnt out with managing the web that was left by your father, who didn't have a decent will, you know. So there is burnout from trying to deal with the affairs of other people, particularly the financial affairs of other people. So forewarned, forearmed about that. That's what I see this energy potentially bringing about for our Virgo friends. But if you know that these are some of the themes that this week is bringing about, then maybe you can work to mitigate these. And I would suggest that mitigation of burnout and mitigation of decision-making stress will come from looking to the sign of Libra, which is opposite Aries. And of course, that is second house things. So maybe it's valuing yourself more. Second house is valuing ourselves. And maybe instead of, you know, these other people's affairs consuming all your time, maybe you decide, I'm taking time out for me. I'm going to go to the movies one afternoon and just slip into another world for a while and give myself a break. I'm going to honor my needs. I'm going to honor myself, because second house is how we value ourselves. And if you value your well-being, then you need to take a break this week. So look to the second house. Also, your money. Protect your money this week. Okay, you might be dealing with difficult situations with other people's money, etc. But just make sure your money is well balanced and well maintained. Your possessions, your resources are all shored up and well insured, etc., etc. It's worth taking some time to explore those things as well. Especially if you're dealing with other people's crisis situations, you're probably going to be inspired to try and sort out your own as well. This is the house of receiving because it's the house of external sources of assistance. You know, we get a loan. That's the bank theoretically giving us the help to purchase a house. If only houses weren't so expensive and banks weren't making such a huge profit. But it's also the house, the 8th house is the house of receiving from other people. Maybe you need a couch to sleep on for the night when you go visit a different city and somebody offers you their couch. That is an 8th house thing. It is the house of receiving some sort of moral support, emotional support, physical support, financial support from other people. So it is a house of receiving. With so much energy in this house of your chart, Virgo, there could be the potential to receive something of significance this week. Maybe some sort of support, some sort of advice, some sort of financial or material goods this week, some sort of inheritance that could come your way. That could be part of this week's energy as well, because 6 planets in the 8th house in the best manifestation could see you being blessed, you getting the benefit of somebody else's kindness and graciousness. And don't forget to be thankful if that is the case, my beautiful Virgo friends. Now, my beautiful Virgo friends, readings with me are still on sale for the month of April, and I still have 1 or 2 sessions left in April to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies, if you would like to. For those who are interested in world astrology events, then I have released a video on my YouTube channel called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I explore our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. The link is in the description below. While I'm on the topic of world politics, when I was in a town planning position in Australia, I did my very best to fight against Agenda 2030 and the New World Order that the Epstein class is trying to force on humanity through all sorts of mechanisms like the EHO, the WHO, and various other agendas. But Agenda 2030 is the really dangerous one, my friends, really dangerous. Here in California, I have noticed since moving here that they have already implemented a tool, a mechanism for fueling this Agenda 2030. It was called Proposition 19 and it came in 2020. This proposition is all part of the you will own nothing and be happy agenda. They're not working for the people. They're working for the Epstein class to bring that about. This is fueling, Proposition 19 is fueling the housing affordability crisis, especially in California, and it is a tool towards this 2030 agenda. But friends, we have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners in California. Now, if you're interested, there is a link in the description. If you're in California and you would like to receive information on how we can return to the benefits of Proposition 13 this November. So maybe, my Virgo friends, you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think it relates to astrology. Let me tell you, we have a stellium in Aries right now. There has never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity and holding on to the good things about being human than April 2026, with all this energy in the warrior, the hero, the Wonder Woman energy of Aries. If you don't like it, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels and stick to your sunshine, lollipops and rainbows and head in the sand. But for those who know that we are in a war with our leadership, we're in a war with our governments right now, we are in a war with the Epstein class that are trying to destroy us, then do head to that link and let's do what we can to embrace the Aries warrior hero energy and perhaps save our way of life. Libra, we're up to you now, and what a report we've got for you this week, my Libran friends. In your 7th house is 6 full-bodied planets in the sign of Aries, doing all sorts of wonderful things. Let's explore it now. This is giving your partners in life a lot of new initiative this week. So Libra, your partners have got the get up and go. They're starting new things. They're making inroads. They're being entrepreneurial. They're activating the Aries energy that is them. So this could be very exciting to see. Cheer them on, sing their praises, encourage them on their quest, my beautiful Libran friends. So there's a lot of new initiative in partners, but also you might be taking initiative to connect with others this week, to try and relate to others, to try and create win-win situations in some circumstances. You might be taking a lot of initiative to perhaps instigate some sort of a contract or an agreement. This is also a business house. It's the 10th house from the 10th, so you might be initiating some kind of business arrangement or business opportunity this week. Business collaboration could be on the cards. This is Aries energy in the 7th house. I actually love it. I think this is fantastic for our Libran friends. Also, you're going to notice, Libra, that your partners and your business associates, your clients, etc., are really very, very authentic and straight up this week. They're going to say it as it is. They're going to be very real. What you see is what you get. No sort of, hidden agendas, that sort of thing in your relationships with other people. And that's lovely. I love that energy. The shadow side of Aries stellium energy could mean that, you encounter a few blunt people or people who are somewhat, a bit rough around the edges. But look, that's totally bearable in this week ahead, because a lot of what you see is going to be very courageous people and very authentic people, and I hope you are able to connect well with those others in your life. There could be clients, it could be your audience, it could be like I said, you noticing it in your partner or maybe in a business associate. This energy of the stellium in Aries is all about moving towards a relationship because it feels spiritually right, rather than just trying to satisfy egoic needs. And this is because Neptune is part of this stellium. Neptune is the spiritual influence that is, mixing in with all this other really hefty energy. So in that sense, it could be quite a fabulous week if you're single and you're looking for a relationship. Neptune being highly activated this week as part of this stellium could introduce you to some sort of higher divine expression of love and connection. It could also, in the shadow side, I just have to warn my single friends out there, it could provide some illusions or some fog around somebody that you're dating or seeing or that you think is the right person. So just be forewarned, forearmed about that too. But generally speaking, Neptune here can help you move towards a business partnership or enhancing your current marriage, because it feels good, not because, hey, it's good to have this sexy person hanging off my arm. No, it just feels like we're aligned. This is a higher dimension of love. It's unconditional. It's united. It's very spiritual kind of love. So really there's a movement towards that this week, rather than just having the toy boy or the sexy secretary on your arm. This is also, I feel, for many of you Libran people, a high pressure environment for decision making, and this could be decisions around partnership. Maybe you're deciding whether or not you will accept that marriage proposal this week, Libra. Maybe you're deciding, is this marriage for me or has it run its course? Maybe you're deciding, should I embark on this foreign trade contract that I've been presented? Maybe you're deciding about whether to go into business with this other person who you've just met, who's got this offering of collaboration. This could be quite high pressure kind of decisions regarding 7th house things that I've just described. So because it's pressurized and the intensity is strong, we do need to be very careful of burning out. And the energy of Aries is the race to the finish line as quick as we can, not the let's build something for the long-term future kind of energy. And of course, if we're trying to get things done collaboratively, if we're trying to get a contract signed and agreed upon in a quick, fast way, we need to watch out for firstly for things going wrong if we're pushing too hard, but also we need to watch out for burning out. Maybe we're trying to save a marriage, or maybe we're trying to generate the fire of passion in a relationship where it's actually gone out and we're pushing too hard, and it's actually, we feel like, oh, why do I even try? I'm burnt out here. I'm so sick of trying with this relationship, or I'm so sick of trying to build this business partnership. We can feel burnout, not because there's no validity in the dynamic, in the relationship, but because we are trying to accomplish too much too soon. So be conscious of that. Perhaps allow a little more leeway, allow a little more time and space for things to play out. Don't try to rush things in terms of relationships and contracts and agreements and business affairs, of course. Also, Libra, there's nothing in your first house this week and everything in the house of others. So you might notice this week, Libra, that everybody is bulldozing their way over you. You know, they're railroading you. They're not gaslighting, because this is an authentic, straight up energy. But, you know, just there's so much emphasis on other people and helping other people and serving other people that you don't have time for you. And, you know, so there's two scenarios here. People are not considering your feelings. People are not asking what your opinion is, and not making decisions based on what's best for both of you. That could be very demoralizing. But also, you could feel burnt out from trying to please other people this week, Libra. So I just encourage you, don't forget to honor yourself. You know, if somebody's bulldozing over the top of you, call them out on it. Say, hey, too much Aries energy. What about we find a way to balance what we both want and we both need? Call them out. If it's the other way around, where you're burning out from giving to everybody else all the time, Libra, then maybe you also need to put some healthy boundaries in place and say, well, hang on, I'm taking Thursday night off for me. I'm going to have a soak in the bath and get my glass of wine. I'm going to read my favorite book, and everyone can just leave me alone, you know? So try to honor the self this week as needed. And it might be hard because there's a lot of Aries energy, but if you need to honor you, make sure you put that boundary in place and make it happen. That's what I'm seeing for our Libran friends this week. I want you to know, Libra, that readings with me are still on sale for the month of April, and I still have 1 or 2 sessions open to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies if you need it. For those Librans who are interested in world events, I have just released a video on my other YouTube channel. It's called World Astrology with Kesenya. And that video that I've released is exploring our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. The link to that, to my World Astrology with Kesenya channel is in the description below if you'd like to check that out and just see what I have to say. Now, while I'm on the topic of world politics, I want to talk about something that's very important and close to my heart, and it does relate to Aries warrior stellium energy. Okay, but I'll get to that in a minute. When I was a town planner in Australia, I really did my best to fight against Agenda 2030 and the New World Order that the Epstein class is trying to force on humanity. I've come to California, moved here, and I have seen to my horror that they have already implemented something called Proposition 19. They did this back in 2020, which is really fueling the housing affordability crisis, and it's a tool towards implementing the evil Agenda 2030, which is all about you'll own nothing and be happy. Basically, everyone will be renting from the Epstein class. That's their agenda. They want to destroy the Western culture that has been established and passed down from generation to generation, and they've done that so horrifically with Proposition 19. But there is some hope, my friends. We have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners in California. There is a link to in the description to this video if you're in California and you would like to receive some information on how we can return to the beneficial Proposition 13 that was in place before 2020. There is movements towards implementing a change this year. So do check that out, and let's fight this, you know, Aries, stellium, warrior, hero, Wonder Woman energy, fighting for the good of humanity. Now, maybe, Libra, you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think this relates to astrology. I'm just going to remind you of this Aries stellium energy. There has never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity than April 2026. It's not just fighting that is going on in the political classes. There is a fight that we need to stand up and take part in as human beings who care about our way of life on the planet and being able to survive into the future. My friends, if you don't like what I'm saying, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels if you just want sunshine, lollipops and rainbows. But for those of us who have a warrior spirit and want to see the life on the planet benefit our children and those who come after us, then do check this out and join me in the fight. Well, beautiful Scorpio friends, guess what? You have a massive stellium in your 6th house this week, and it is very, very active and very pertinent to you because the ruler of your sign in traditional astrology, which is Mars, has just moved into its own sign, Aries, its other own sign, and therefore it's very strong for you right now. What does this mean for you? Well, there's a lot of new initiative that is available to Scorpio people in the 6th house. So you're going to have, so much drive towards taking care of your health and balancing your body and spirit, so much drive towards finding solutions for any illnesses or anything that's out of whack in your life, finding solutions to debts and issues with money or lack of education or lack of a job, that sort of thing. You have the enthusiasm and the drive and the initiative to really change your world in those negative areas of life where things are out of balance and things are not harmonized. Lots of initiative to make it right, to fix things, to restore things and make things better. I'm excited for you because of that. Also, I think for many of you, my beautiful Scorpio friends, if you are dealing with conflict in the workplace or anywhere really, if you're dealing with enemies and people who are attacking you or making life hard for you, this is a time when you're going to stand up and be courageous. Aries energy in the 6th house says, I'm not going to put up with your bullshit anymore. You're going to be authentic. You're going to be straight up. There's no dancing around controversial subjects for you, Scorpio people, this week. You are going to really step into, in the highest vibration of this energy, managing and fixing conflict, managing and fixing visible enemies. Now, I will just say that this intensification of 6th house energy might see more enemies pop up out of the woodwork, like you're in some shooting gallery or something. But that is just the nature of all this energy activating the 6th house. You also have the capacity, because your ruling planet Mars is here, you have the capacity to absolutely deal with those situations, to work hard at sorting those situations, those conflict situations out, to sorting out your struggles as well. You'll be courageous this week about finding solutions to the struggles of life and working hard to lay them to rest. Now, Scorpio, I feel that many of you will probably have some kind of a spiritual goal. Not a spiritual goal. You'll have a wellness goal and a well-being goal, and you'll be moving towards that goal of health and well-being this week. In a greater capacity, in a creative manner, because it feels right. And by this I mean maybe you're researching which acupuncturist you want to use to help you get more vitality or find more peace in your soul or something like that. And you'll be looking at different acupuncturists listed online or whatever, and you'll just get a sense that's the one. And you'll know. And you'll be able to move towards an appointment with that person. Now, it doesn't have to be an acupuncturist. It can be any health practitioner or healer of any description that you like. But you are going to have a 6th sense this week because Neptune is in the stellium about who is right for your needs. And because of that, there can be a lot of healing. This is a house of illness, but it is also a house of finding the right solution and healing. And with so much intense energy here, you really do have the capacity to find the right solution, to know in your gut which is the right path for you to take to find your healing and to experience healing as well. So that's quite exciting. I would suggest, though, that because there's so much Aries energy and there's quite a mix of oil and water, if you know what I mean here, things that aren't quite gelling, it is a high pressure environment for making a decision. And this could be making a decision about how to get rid of debt, or making a decision about which workplace is the best place to go with for you, making a decision about the circumstances of your job. Do you want to work from home or do you want to go into work at the office? This is also the high pressure about making a decision about some, like I said before, some health practitioner, an acupuncturist or a nutritionist or somebody like that. Where are you going to go and get this health treatment that you need? There's high pressure around health choices. Which diet is best for you? Which treatment of some problem in your home, like, I don't know, maybe you've got mold, and which treatment are you going to use to get rid of the mold and give you a healthier life? There is a lot of high pressure in energy around making decisions to better your life. The 6th house is a house of improving things, whereas the 7th house is a house of balance and harmony. The 6th house is where things are out of balance that need to be made right. So many of you, my beautiful Scorpios, might be trying to make a decision about what needs to happen in your life to make things work better, to make things less pressurized, to make things in your daily life especially more conducive for your happiness. So I do know I have a very dear Scorpio rising friend who is actually in this kind of circumstance right now. They're in a very pressurized day-to-day experience that's very weighty and bearing down on them. Saturn is here in the 6th house of day-to-day experiences after all. And I really, my feeling for this person, this dear friend, and I'm sure for all of you Scorpio people, is to watch out for burnout, and to do what you need to do to alleviate burnout. Maybe you're caring for somebody and it's burning you out. Maybe you're fixing a situation or dealing with employees or offering some sort of service to somebody and it is burning you out. You are done. My beautiful Scorpio friends, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to honor the self. What is opposite Aries? It's Libra. It is finding balance. It is creating win-win situations, and there is a need to consciously and actively seek win-win situations. Otherwise, these other people represented by the 6th house, the people that bring imbalance into our life, the people who we're serving, 6th house people, they just take it all. Take all our energy and our drive. But we need to balance and harmonize these situations by honoring the self, by resting, by retreating. 12th house energy, where Libra sits for you. There is a need to rest, to retreat, to have time out, to have time to yourself, to isolate, to perhaps have a little holiday, to, go to a day spa, do something lovely and relaxing and releasing for you. This is very, very, very important for our Scorpio friends. You have my permission to go ahead and do that. In fact, I would suggest carving a little time out in some way, shape or form for yourself every day while we have this active stellium in the 6th house of day-to-day routines, service, helping, healing, fixing. You cannot spend 100% of your time helping other people without burning out. You must take time for you or life will be miserable. So this is very, very important right now for my Scorpio friends. Also you might be cleaning. This is a house of cleaning our house and our cupboards and trying to organize and restructure our immediate environment. And that can be quite tiring as well if you're sort of, let's say, somebody passed away and you're the one responsible for cleaning their home and getting rid of all their crap and blah, blah, blah. There is this cleaning energy with the 6th house that could burn you out. So try to balance how much you do and, how much you employ someone to come and do for you in those situations as well. Do take care of yourself this week, my Scorpio friends. That's what I'm really feeling into with my lovely Scorpio friends this week. I want you to know, Scorpio, that readings with me are still on sale for the month of April, and I still have 1 or 2 sessions open to be able to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies this month. For those of you who are interested in world events, I have actually released a video on my other YouTube channel, which the other YouTube channel is called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I explore our current world political situations from an astrological perspective. If you're interested in that kind of content, the link to that YouTube channel is in the description below. Now, while I'm on the topic of world political situations, I want to talk about something that has a lot to do with the fighter warrior spirit of Aries and the ability of Scorpio people with this Aries stellium in the 6th house to try and put things back into balance for the world, not just in your own life, but in the world at large. While I was a town planner in Australia, I really did my best to fight against the implementation of Agenda 2030 and the New World Order that the Epstein class is trying to force on humanity. It's truly horrific. Here in California, now that I've moved here, I find that they've already implemented a horrific tool and mechanism for bringing about this 2030 agenda of you'll own nothing and be happy. Thanks, Klaus Schwab, for that absolute BS. You know, they've implemented in 2020 Proposition 19, which is many of you Californians will know about this, of course, but for those who don't and those who are out of California, this really fuels the housing affordability crisis in California. And as I said, is a tool towards this you'll own nothing and be happy. But dear Californian friends, we have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners in California. You know, look, there's a link in my description to this video. If you're in California and you would like to receive some information on how to return to the benefits that we had under Proposition 13. There's a lot of momentum this year towards going back to Proposition 13, and we need all Californians to get on board with that. Now, maybe, my beautiful Scorpio friends, you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think this even relates to astrology. Well, I'll just say to that, we have a stellium in the sign of Aries right now, the warrior, the hero, the Wonder Woman fighter. There's never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity than April 2026. And for you beautiful Scorpio friends, you especially have this in your 6th house of putting things back to rights, restoring things to balance. This is what needs to happen. So it's absolutely appropriate. Now, if you don't agree with me, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels. And if all you want is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, I'm sure there's plenty of YouTube channels out there that can service that effect for you. But if you want to live in the real world and fight for humanity and for a fight against the Epstein class, then this is something we really need to take action on. Sagittarius, rising sun and moon people, here we go. Have we got a special week ahead for you because you have a stellium in one of the luckiest houses in the astrological horoscope, the 5th house, the house of fun, the house that speaks to what we enjoy doing the most, the house that makes us want to be alive. And here is all this energy here in the 5th house, including the 5th house lord. Woo! What does this mean for lucky Sagittarian people? Well, you're going to be full of new initiative this week towards having fun, towards good times, towards going out and enjoying yourself. Yes, that might be one thing, but even enjoying yourself at home can be a thing. This is really an energy this week where you're going to discover what gives you excitement and happiness and what really fuels the fire of God for you. There's a lot of new initiative here. I'm excited for Sagittarius people. If you've started some sort of new entrepreneurial endeavor at all this year, this is a time when you can really see blessing flow into that entrepreneurial endeavor. Aries is entrepreneurship, and all this energy is now in a house of good luck. You know, it could be, this is a house of students. If you have started teaching something, you might receive a lot of students this week because there's so much energy and activation in the 5th house. And you might be taking a lot of initiative to attract students into your life. And by students, I mean sort of teenager, maybe early 20s kind of age group for students. Young children in elementary school is seen through the 3rd house. So this is actually for teenagers and sort of early 20-somethings. So you might be attracting in a lot of those age group of people. I mean, Aries and Mars is here too, and Mercury is here too as youthful energies. You might be attracting a lot of young people to learn something from you because the 5th house is a house of our innate knowledge. You know, what comes naturally to us, you know, what we don't have to work hard at to be successful in. And so you might be, you really have a capacity to share and instigate something around your true innate intelligence. What are you truly innately intelligent about, my beautiful Sagittarius friends? It's going to be different for all of you, but whatever that happens to be, you can actually start some new initiative with that. Maybe you're just innately talented as a sewer. And maybe that's because maybe in a past life you were doing some sort of seamstress work and it just comes naturally to you in this lifetime. So you have this innate knowledge about how to put together dresses and clothing and make them beautiful. Well, this could be a week when you actually start to maybe teach other people how to sew, because we want to get back to those old fabulous skills that, rather than just relying on cheap imports and stuff. If we actually could make our own clothes, wouldn't that be fantastic? So maybe you start teaching people how to sew. Maybe you have an innate knowledge of growing things in the garden and you can start sharing your wisdom and knowledge about that. Maybe you know how to do Kung Fu and you decide you're going to, like my husband, who's also Sagittarius rising, you're going to teach what you innately have learnt. And, he's had to learn Kung Fu, my husband, but it's just come naturally to him. He just seems like he's a natural Kung Fu expert, as well as having put in a lot of effort to enhance and uplift his skills. So maybe you're putting in some new initiative around some sort of sports endeavor like Kung Fu or like swimming or like teaching tennis or something like that. Fifth house has to do with sports that we enjoy, not professional sports, but sports that we do because we love it, because it makes us feel alive and it gets the endorphins flowing. So there could be some new initiatives around teaching that, but also participating in sports that is happening for you this week as well. Also, I feel that for many of you Sagittarius people, you're going to be dealing with young people, children, and even some maybe your lovers and romantic associations this week who are actually behaving in a very authentic and straight up kind of way. They're going to say it as it is. They're going to be honest and real with you. What you see with those people is what you're going to get in any dealings that you have with people who fit that bill, children and lovers and romantic associates and so forth. You might also get the courage this week, Sagittarius, if you're single, to go up and approach somebody romantically. Why not utilize this energy for the greater good and do that? Move towards somebody that you're attracted to. This energy has got your back for sure this week with that. Now, not only moving towards somebody romantically, but we might also be moving towards some kind of hobby or some kind of joyful experience, or getting back in touch with our childlike heart because it feels like the right thing to do. Neptune's part of this stellium. So a lot of this momentum that we've got towards moving and towards some sort of new hobby we want to practice, or doing some sort of something that makes us feel alive, some sort of joyous experience. The momentum we've got with that is coming from a place of, I feel like my heart needs this. I feel like my soul wants this, and there's something important about doing this hobby, this joyful experience right now. My soul needs to know this. So if you're feeling a pull towards some kind of joyful experience, maybe going out and, going to a concert, or maybe, I don't know, taking a picnic somewhere, doing something joyful, or implementing some sort of hobby, spending time doing your painting or your sewing or, writing poetry, whatever your hobby actually is, you're going to feel a pull towards it this week because the soul needs it. Because there's something spiritually aligned about getting involved in those things this week. Go for it. Enjoy that pull that this stellium is going to put here. This is also the house of good karma from past lives. So again, if you feel a pull to something, you can trust that it's actually going to be for your greater benefit, maybe even tapping into something important from past lives that you need to re-experience that helps your soul to soar. Now, I will just say in the challenging components of this is the house of, this is a stellium that does relate to decision making and high pressure with decision making this week. So there might be decisions you need to make about children. Your child is back in town and they want to catch up, and but you're so busy with other things. How are you going to incorporate catching up with your child? Okay, high pressure decision making about how and when and where you're going to catch up with your child. There can be high pressure decisions about a love relationship or a romantic partnership that needs to be weighed up now too. Some of you Sagittarius people might be deciding whether or not a romantic partnership is something you want to embrace for the long term or not. And that can be a high pressure decision that you're facing about a fifth house situation as well. There might be, potentially a high-pressure situation regarding how you're going to use a hobby or some sort of talent that you've got, some true innate intelligence that you've got, and you're feeling the pressure of, I love doing this for a hobby, but I don't want to have to live off it. I don't want to have to, turn it into something I don't enjoy doing because I have to make money out of it. But hell, where's the money going to come from? Okay, this is a high-pressure decision about a hobby that I need to make here. That could also be on the cards as well. There's a weight of destiny about these types of decisions that you're weighing up at this time. I'll point out, my beautiful Sagittarius friends, that this is also the house of change in career, reinvention of career, renovation of your reputation, and sudden reversals in career, because it's the 8th house from the 10th. So you might be feeling some pressure about a career choice and career momentum, and what you're going to do about a career option that you have. And it could feel somewhat heavy because of the weight of all these planets in this house, where you've got to make a decision about a career direction. 8th house from the 10th brings a crisis in a career circumstance. But don't worry about it being negative, because this is such a blessed house that, yes, it's this decision, which one's the right one to make. Ultimately, the decision can be beneficial, whatever course you take, but the choice is overwhelming, so just be forewarned, forearmed about that. I would also suggest that for Sagittarius people, this might sound odd, but this is a house of sports that we enjoy and recreational activities. This energy of the stellium in Aries, which is like a sprinter stellium, can see you reach extreme burnout. Let's say you're participating, March Madness in the basketball is now over, but let's say you're participating in some kind of knockout competition, let's say this week, and you get through to the finals and the grand final and so on and so on. But because this is a sprint energy, not a marathon, you might find that you're burning out towards the end of your sports tournament. So do make sure, if you're in that kind of a situation and you want to do well, that you give yourself a chance to rest and recharge and restore your batteries, even if that means maybe taking a day off from work or something, so that you can be at your best in regard to some sort of sports events, perhaps. That would be very important. Last thing I want to mention for my beautiful Sagittarius friends is that don't forget to strive for win-win situations. This is particularly true with children and with partners, romantic partners, the person you're dating, the person that you're in love with. Try not to sort of be forcing your opinion too much, because all this Aries energy puts a lot of emphasis in this realm, but the Libra energy is going unchecked, and we do need to harmonize things. So make sure that you aim for win-win situations. And if by chance it's your lover or your children that are causing an imbalance, not you, then maybe you could gently suggest that perhaps a win-win circumstance or consideration of other people might be a good way to move. That's what I'm seeing for my Sagittarius friends. I will also mention that all this Aries energy probably will inspire you to want to maybe gamble or take some sort of a risk. This is a house of risk-taking. Aries is rather a risk-taking kind of throw caution to the wind kind of energy, and with so much emphasis in a risk-taking throw caution to the wind kind of an area of the chart, just do be careful about sort of maybe putting all your money on black and then losing it all, or taking some sort of maybe you're into extreme sports or something and you take a risk and it's like, oh, hang on, that didn't pay off, Be careful with any kind of risk-taking situations in any area. Try to act with more patience, more balance, more consideration of these circumstances rather than jumping in boots and all and taking a big risk at this time. This Aries energy doesn't necessarily mean that it won't pay off, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll come out on top either. It could be quite challenging, and in fact, Saturn and Mars both being within proximity of one another could actually be quite a frustrating period where the gamble that you take or the risk that you take actually doesn't provide the answer that you're looking for, and you end up worse off. Because remember I said in the introduction to this video that the energy of this momentum is like driving with the handbrake on, and certainly if you take a risk, it's going to not be like an easy road. It'll be like driving with the handbrake on. You know, you get in your Ferrari to compete in the Formula One and you're driving with the handbrake on, you know, it's not working. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing for my beautiful Saggy friends. But don't forget, Sagittarius, that readings with me are still on sale for the month of April. And I actually still have 1 or 2 sessions that are open left in April for you to chat with me and understand what's happening in your astral skies. For those of you who are interested in world events, Sagittarius, and I know Saggy people often are, I have just released a video on my other YouTube channel. The other YouTube channel is called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I explore our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, then the link to that is in the description below. And while I'm talking about the topic of world politics, I want to touch on this Aries stellium, fighter, warrior, hero kind of energy that is playing out right now that we are all tapping into. While I was a town planner in Australia, I really did my best to fight against the implementation of Agenda 2030 and the new world order that the Epstein class is trying to force on humanity. It's terrible. Here in California, now that I've moved here, I've realized that they have already implemented Proposition 19 back in 2020, which is fueling the housing affordability crisis that's happening in California. And this Proposition 19 is actually a tool towards the implementation of Agenda 2030, where we will own nothing and be happy, thanks Klaus Schwab. Absolutely terrible. This is actually part of that mechanism towards dystopian control and totalitarianism. You know what, my dear friends in California, we have the chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners. There's a link in the description if you're from California and you would like to fight with me to turn this Proposition 19 around and go back to the good things that we had under Proposition 13 before this Proposition 19 came in. There's a link in the description if you want to join the fight for that. There's a lot of momentum around that whole energy this year, 2026. Now, maybe you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think that even relates to astrology. Well, friends, this stellium in Aries says there's never been a more appropriate time to enter the fight for humanity. It's not just in politics that there is fighting and warring going on. We need to stand up. We need to be the warrior and the hero for humanity right now, for the sake, and particularly for Sagittarius people, for the sake of your children. It's happening in your 5th house. If you want your children to have the quality of life that you've had and that your parents had, we have to fight this. This is so Aries stellium in the 5th house. It's unbelievable. That's why I mention this at this time. Friends, if you don't like what I'm saying, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels. If all you want is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, go right ahead. But for those of us who know that it is important to fight for humanity, let's unite and do this together. Alrighty, we're up to Capricorn rising, sun and moon people, and are you ready for this stellium in your 4th house, Capricorn? My goodness, it is huge in Aries. This is really giving you a lot of new initiative around family life, family connections, a lot of new initiative around your home life too. You probably will be getting out in the garden and digging a new garden bed or renovating something that needs renovating. You'll probably be painting a new wall. You will have what it takes, the enthusiasm, the energy to do stuff around your domestic environment and with your family that can really bless you. I love this energy. Tap into it, use it. This is representative, the fourth house, of the people that share the same household as yourself. And if you're a Capricorn person, you'll be being very authentic and straight up with those people who share your home environment. Saying it as it is. And maybe some things need to be said as it is. Maybe there needs to be a mentioning okay, you're always leaving your dirty dishes on the sink instead of putting them in the dishwasher. How about, dealing with that issue? You're dealing with domestic issues in an authentic, straight up, honest way, which is what you see is what you get, kind of Aries energy. And maybe some of you Capricorn people need to tap into some courage around saying what needs to be said in a domestic environment, or courageous to do what needs to be done in a domestic environment. So these things are coming up this week for you to deal with as well. Some of you Capricorn people might be moving towards some sort of a goal with a home, a goal with maybe some land or a farm, or some sort of underground room, or real estate in some way. You'll be moving towards a domestic, like bricks and mortar home goal or land goal, because it feels like it's the right thing to do. Neptune gives this spiritual alignment to this stellium energy. So if you see, look, this Neptune could be ideals manifesting. You might see a piece of land and you're like, that's my dream land. I've always wanted a land like that with a creek running through it or whatever. Oh my gosh, I need to find out the price of that. And oh my God, I can actually afford it. I'm going to put in an offer. It just feels right. It feels like the timing is aligned. It feels like there is a weight of destiny associated with this energy. You'll also be experiencing some emotional connection right now as well that could be feeling very spiritually aligned, like your emotions are highly charged because of this Aries energy, and your emotions are perhaps a little on edge, but you can actually work with this to, if you tap into spirit and tap into Neptune charity and compassion, you might find that it helps to align your emotions to what is it's spiritually right for you as well. So being kind and gracious, Neptune energy, to your family, to the people in your domestic environment might help you to emotionally feel more balanced and more harmonized at this time. This also can indicate that there's a lot of high pressure decision making that needs to take place regarding your home, where you live, the rental situation that you're in, the real estate that you're trying to sell. There's a lot of decisions that are on the cards for Capricorn people about what you're going to do with a property, how you're going to maybe renovate a property, or how you're going to sell it, when you're going to sell it. There's a lot of decision making going on about property, land, and real estate. There can also be some decision making that needs to happen regarding your parents or your maternal lineage as well. Maybe for many Capricorn people, there's a situation with mum that needs some addressing, that needs some change, that needs some kind of a decision to be made, and yet it's a high pressure one. For example, maybe you're looking at aged care facilities and you're like, which one do we choose? Which one is mum going to be happiest in? How do we make this choice about what does she need? There can be high pressure decision making regarding a parent, regarding a mother figure, or even regarding how to parent. So it can have to do with how you're parenting your children, that the decision-making pressure is coming to bear. Which school do I send them to? What university should I encourage them to go to? How can I help my child find a job so that they're set for life? High-pressure decision-making for the family, for the children, or in your role as a parent might be well and truly on the cards this week. I want to just encourage you, my beautiful Capricorn friends, to just watch out for burnout. So many planets in the sign of Capricorn in the sign of Aries, are actually all about the sprint rather than the marathon. And you might find that your feelings and emotions are very much frayed this week. Yes, you might be aligning your emotions by doing something spiritual or charitable, etc., etc. But you might also find that there's emotional fatigue this week and burnout this week, maybe from a family situation, maybe because there's intensity in the home because of all these planets in the fourth house of home. So if you find that your feelings and emotions are being highly activated and you're anxious and there's sadness or depression or something like that, I just want you to remember to honor the self. Take time out, rest, retreat, explore your feelings. Don't shove them under the rug and let them fester. I want you to explore your feelings, maybe journaling or sitting with them or just allowing them to be, so that they can pass through you and you can move on in time from the feelings that you're experiencing. I've found that the more I try to deny my feelings and not allow them the space to express, the worse they get. Whereas if I say, I'm feeling angry right now, I'm going to go and punch the pillow on my bed for a while, then fantastic, it passes fairly quickly. Acceptance of feelings is one way to let them move through us quicker. But watch out for emotional burnout. Maybe you're in a very emotionally charged situation. Just forewarned, that your emotions might reach burnout stage this week. So do honor what you need to stay balanced and to stay relatively safe and secure in some way. Dear friends, I do want to just finish this reading for you by saying that Libra is opposite Aries. There's so much energy in Aries this week, but Libra's all empty. And that really speaks to me of a need to balance and harmonize things with work-life balance, home and family, and being out there in the world doing your career. You might be so focused on family needs and domestic concerns this week that you are forgetting the importance of your career or the importance of your, what you do out there in the world, whatever that may be. And I just want to encourage you to try and find a balance point. It might be very hard to. The pressures of home might be really drawing on you. But really the best way to work with this energy is trying to balance what you do for a career or find some way to contribute to the world at large in an important way that could actually really help balance this energy and help you feel more solid and stable in some way. So don't forget to strive for win-win situations between family and work life as well. So important. So my darling Capricorn friends, I want you to know that readings with me are still on sale for the month of April, and I still have 1 or 2 sessions that are open to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies this week. For those that are interested in world events, I've just released a video on my other YouTube channel. The other YouTube channel is called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I explore our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. If you're interested in that sort of thing, the link is in the description below. Now, while I'm on the topic of politics, and while we're talking about a Stellium and Aries in the patriotic 4th house, let's talk about something that I've just noticed in my time here in California. When I was a town planner in Australia, I really did my best to fight against Agenda 2030 and the new world order that the Epstein class is actually trying to force on humanity. Here in California, once I got over here, became aware that they've already implemented a tool of Agenda 2030 and the whole idea of you'll own nothing and be happy. Basically, you'll rent everything from us. You'll rent your music from Spotify. You'll rent your house from some Epstein elite. You rent your movies from YouTube. You won't own anything. That's their goal, and it's quite dystopian. This tool that they've implemented in 2020 was called Proposition 19. Many Californians will be familiar with that. Those who aren't from California probably won't know. But this is a tool that fuels the housing affordability crisis here in California, and it's also a tool for this Agenda 2030 that I'm talking about. You know what? Californian friends who are listening to this video, we have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of your family and all homeowners in California, and giving everybody a chance, particularly our young people, a chance to perhaps someday own a house of their own in California. But we have to act and we have to fight Aries stellium energy. There is a link in the description if you're from California and you'd like to receive information on how we can return to the benefits that we had under Proposition 13 before the implementation of Proposition 19. Check out that link. It's got everything you need to know about how we fight this tool of the Epstein elites. You know what? You might not like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think it relates to astrology, but as I've pointed out, we have a stellium in the warrior, hero, Wonder Woman sign of Aries right now. There's never been a more appropriate time to fight for humanity than April 2026. And for you guys, Capricorn, in the 4th house of patriotism, of holding on to the way of life and the standard of living that we have had in the West, so that our children may benefit from it, so that our ancestors will also have a similarly brilliant way of life. We have to fight this. And you guys, it is reflected in your chart by being in the 4th house stellium of Aries. If you don't like this, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels. If all you want is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, that's fine. But this, here at this channel, I want us to unite and turn the world around for the greater good, for my children, for your children, for everybody's future. Aquarius, rising sun and moon people, here we are with your report for this Aries stellium week. What a big week for this April this is going to be. What have we got going on? Well, this stellium in your 3rd house says that it's 3rd house things where you're going to have a lot of new initiative, where you're going to be really striving to make new things happen and start new beginnings. There's so many new cycles beginning here in the 3rd house this week. It is huge. So what does this represent? It means perhaps new friendships, because this 3rd house is about our friendships with people, friendships that feel like siblings. It's that sort of connection. It's not big groups of people that we're friends with. It's about that person who feels like so close they're my sister, or so close they're my brother. Friendships that feel like siblings. So you might actually start a new friendship that is actually quite like that. That's very much deep and connected this week. There might be an initiative in that regard. Another thing that the 3rd house is all about is crafting and craftsmanship, trades and skills of the hands. So for many of you Aquarius people, you might be taking up knitting. You might be learning how to crochet. You might be doing something practical even, like, well, both knitting and crochet are, but maybe learning to cook or learning to do woodwork or something. Some sort of craftsman, trading, useful skill that you're developing, and you're initiating the development of that skill in some way this week. So go for it if that's what you're feeling like you want to initiate. You know, this is also the 3rd house, the house of small business. And I know that a lot of people are looking at what side hustle can I establish? What small business can I get going? This is a great week for initiating it because of this stellium in the 3rd house of your chart, Aquarius. So absolutely consider launching a business. I mean, it depends on what's going on with the rest of your chart, of course, but it's a good energy, generally speaking, for launching a business, starting some sort of side hustle, using your skills and abilities to make money in your life. Absolutely a great opportunity for you to establish that this week and take the initiative with that this week. I'd also suggest that in regard to your relationship with relatives and siblings that you've got, you might be being very authentic this week and saying things as it is. That might mean being quite blunt in some cases. Hey, you're always parking in my spot at our house. I want you to stop doing that. You know, like you could be really authentic and straight up about a circumstance with a sibling, a circumstance with a relative, a circumstance even with a friend who feels like a sibling. You might have to get real and honest, and what you see is what you get. You might have to develop a bit of courage to approach the whole topic, but this is the week to do it. If there was any week, it's going to be when there's a stellium in the 3rd house. You have the courage, you have the authenticity to deal with any problems in that way. Now, also, this can be very much a house of bravery. It is the house of bravery, and this energy is very courageous. So bravery comes from the third house due to our mental narrative, like we tell ourselves we can actually go and approach that young woman and ask her out on a coffee date or something. It's going to be okay. That's a brave mental narrative. And because we're feeling brave and courageous with all this Aries energy this week, we might find that good things come our way because we act on our bravery. It's not just about feeling brave or having a brave mental narrative. It's about putting it into action this week that sees something good come of our life. So what are you feeling courageous about? What are you feeling that you need to be brave about? Tap into that energy this week. You might see great things come of that. This is also Neptune is part of the stellium, and this can indicate moving towards maybe some sort of goal in terms of craftsmanship or a skill that you want to develop, or running your own business because it feels like it's the right thing to do. Not just for ego reasons. Ego can be, very much the shadow side of the Aries energy, but because Neptune's here, you're going to want to establish something, maybe your own business or learn the flute or whatever it happens to be, because it's just something your soul wants. It just feels like it's the right time to do these things. Rather than, I'm going to learn the flute because I want everybody to see, how fantastic a musician I am. That's not this energy. This energy is very much more I just feel good when I play the flute. It makes my soul sing. Or I want to establish this business because I want to do good for humanity. Neptune is compassionate. Neptune is charity. I'm going to start this business because it's going to help people see things in a new light or do things in a new way. And that feels right to me, rather than I'm going to start this business because I know better than everybody else how to do blah, blah, blah. So not ego, but spiritual alignment with regard to third house things is what's happening here. I also see, my beautiful Aquarius friends, that there could be some pressurized energy regarding making a decision this week. What that could look like is maybe making a decision around entering into some sort of competitive environment. In Vedic astrology, this is a house of competition. Do you want to compete with those other people, or do you want to go your own way? I would suggest Aries energy might want to, well, it actually is competitive as well as unique. So yes, it might be a either or kind of pressurized decision. Are you going to enter into that particularly competitive environment? You might be sort of having a bit of high pressure decision making regarding something to do with your siblings. Should you let your sibling come and live with you while they get back on their feet, or is that going to be detrimental for your family? You're trying to make a decision about some sort of relative and your involvement with some sort of relative that feels highly pressurized because of all the energy here. So forewarned, forearmed. I'm not giving you a solution on what to decide, but I'm just saying be prepared for heavy decision making. And maybe the answer comes by looking at your Libran house, which in this case is the ninth house, maybe going to a person of inspiration for some wisdom and some guidance. Libra is guidance energy. Ninth house is the guru, the inspirational figure, the wisdom giver. So that might provide support for you in your decision making, whatever circumstance that might be. Maybe you're trying to decide what business you're going to establish. Maybe you're trying to decide what webinar to attend or what seminar you want to go to. Do you want to go to NORWAC or UWAC this year? Which one are you going to be at? All that kind of thing. There's decisions about events. There's decisions about seminars. There's decisions about speaking engagements. There's decisions about social media. I'm at the point where I'm trying to decide what damn phone am I going to buy to have here in America, because my Australian phone only works in Australia. So, okay, what am I going to do? This is about our tech devices, our social media, etc., etc. So you might be facing a decision as simple as that. What phone am I going to buy? What social media app am I going to download? But it somehow feels a bit weighted with destiny, what you're going to choose, Aquarius, in that regard. It's also a transactional house, so you might be having a lot of heavy decision making that has the weight of destiny about buying and selling something. Should I sell my car? Should I buy that car? That kind of thing. The buying and selling has a lot of pressure being put on you right now as well. I just want to suggest that this is an extremely busy house. It's also the 8th house from the 8th. So it is also a very changeable house, a transformative house too. It's like double whammy 8th house energy. So really, my beautiful Aquarius friends, you need to watch out for burnout this week from just doing too much, taking on too much, trying to change things too much, and you're just, head spinning. Where do I land? This is just crazy making. So if you're starting to feel that way at any stage this week, step back, become objective, take some time out and have a break so that you don't burn out because of the intensity of this stellium here in the 3rd house, my dear friends. And don't forget to strive for win-win situations wherever possible. And that means looking to Libra again as the 9th house to balance things out. If the intensity of the 3rd house, is just overwhelming you and your decision-making is leaving your head spinning, etc., then maybe you need to go dive into some sort of good book. 9th house energy, study astrology or read some poetry or read some philosophy or something to escape, or watch a travel documentary, 9th house energy, as a source of balancing too much 3rd house busyness and craziness at this time. So Aquarius, I want to let you know readings with me are still on sale for the month of April, and I still have 1 or 2 sessions that are open in April to be able to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies. Now, for those of you who are interested in world events, I want to let you know that I've just released a video on my other YouTube channel. My other YouTube channel is called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I explore our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. The link to that is in the description below. Check it out. And while we're on the topic of world politics, let me tell you a little story. When I was a town planner in Australia, I did my best to fight against Agenda 2030 and the New World Order of the Epstein classes trying to force on humanity. I did the best I could, but I was a single person fighting the machine, and it was nigh on impossible to make much of a difference as a solo person. Now I'm here in California, and what I've noticed and what's been brought to my attention is that the Epstein class have already implemented tools and mechanisms to bring about this you'll own nothing and be happy 2030 agenda, which we all detest. It's going to make us into basically a communist totalitarian society, and we want to stop that wherever we can. This is Proposition 19 that came in 2020 that I'm talking about. This is fueling the housing affordability crisis that is in California, and it was already bad before that. And it's a tool, as I said, towards this Epstein class agenda. We, my friends, have a chance to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners. If you live in California and you care about this matter, as I hope you do, there's a link in the description. And if you want to go to that link, you'll be able to receive some information on how we can take action as a group, not as a solo person, but as a group and a collective, towards fighting the Epstein class and returning to the benefits that we had under Proposition 13, which was in place before Proposition 19. Maybe you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class. Maybe you don't think it relates to astrology. Let me point out, Aquarius, there is a stellium in the warrior, Wonder Woman, hero sign of Aries this week. There has never been a better, more appropriate time to fight for the cause of humanity than April 2026. It's not just in politics that fighting is going on. As a collective group of people on the planet, we need to stand up to this Epstein class so that change, an appropriate change for the good of all humanity, can come about. And that's why I talk to this right now, because there is a stellium in Aries and we need to act on it. Feel free, if you don't agree with me, to utilize other YouTube channels if all you want is sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, as Leslie Gore sang. Go for it. That's fine. There's no skin off my nose, as they say. But for those of you out there who care about the future of humanity, let's join and fight the Epstein class as best we can together. Beloved Pisces rising, sun and moon people, you have waited till last of a very long video, so thank you for being here. And what a stellium you've got happening in your second house this week. What does it mean for Pisces people? Second house is what we need to live with: our food, our shelter, our clothing, our material things, our resources, our valuables are seen through the second house as well. This is the realm where we're going to be initiating new things. So quite literally that could look like shopping for new things, buying new things that you need for food and shelter and clothing. I would suggest as well, because Aries is a very independent energy, an autonomous kind of energy, and we are in the house of self-sufficiency, I would suggest it's a great week to start to initiate a vegetable garden, an orchard, some way to grow your own food, or create your own clothing or whatever, to be as self-sufficient as possible, getting ready for perhaps what's in store for us as the next few years of the 2020s unfold. So it's a great time, Pisces, to initiate self-sufficiency, I would suggest, this week. So a lot of you will be taking initiative in that regard, and many of you Pisces people will be stepping into a feeling of authenticity and courage regarding these things as well. Maybe you've never ever thought about owning chickens before, and lo and behold, you decide, I'm gonna go for it. Maybe that's a courageous move for you. Maybe you've never had a pet in your life and you decide, I'm going to get courageous about this second house thing, self-sufficiency. Some of you might have this courage coming through in other forms. Maybe you're in a bidding war at an auction to win some piece of wonderful furniture or a house or something like that, and you need to be courageous. Now, I encourage you to be courageous with wisdom in that situation. Don't spend more than what you've got, but certainly you'd be more inclined to want to step into the ring this week with regard to owning something that you've always wanted. So that can be quite exciting, as long as you're not getting in too deep, of course. So tap into that courage if you need to go for it and own something. I remember years ago, Shag released a painting of Back to the Future, which is one of my favourite movies. I love it. And I remember seeing it for randomly on the website. And I was just like, that's it. I've got to go for it. I can't sit around and wait because everyone's going to snap up this Back to the Future Shag print. And so, there was none in Australia, so I had to ring the Palm Springs store, and yep, they were great. They were very decent, and they said, yep, we'll ship it to you. It'll cost this, it'll cost that. And I jumped on that opportunity. So I moved quickly, and that's really a lot of the energy of this Aries stellium, moving quickly on something that you really would like before it's snaffled up by everybody else here in the house of material goods and things. This is also a house of what we do to make ourselves feel stable and feel secure. So a lot of you might be, taking some courageous action to feel more stable, to feel more secure. That might look like becoming self-sufficient, or it could look like something else. It could look like, I don't know, maybe you're worried about your teeth, so you book in at the dentist because you want to feel like your teeth are going to last the distance. Teeth are seen from the second house. Maybe maybe you're usually afraid of the dentist, but you get your courage and off you go and deal with that second house thing like teeth. Maybe you had a terrible experience at a hairdresser and you need to get your courage back to go and have your hair done again at this hairdresser. So your hair is, and the head is seen through this realm of the chart. So you get your courage together to go and have that haircut that you've been needing to have. These are all some what seemingly superficial expressions of this Aries stellium energy, but they're nonetheless real as expressions of astrological energy, because this is the material house in the horoscope. I would also suggest this is a house of giving as well. The 8th house is being able to receive support from other people. So therefore, the house opposite, which is the second house, is the house of giving. And I think that some of you Pisces will be considering giving generously and kindly during this stellium energy because it feels right, because it feels like it's a good charitable Neptunian thing to do, to give something to help other people in need, or people who are suffering, or people who need more resources than what they currently have. So if that's how you're feeling, I encourage you absolutely go for this. And look, there's so much homelessness that I'm seeing all around me these days. It would be great if we could actually do something about the homelessness, not as individuals, but maybe as a collective. And maybe somebody needs to start some sort of charitable structure or giving for homeless people, or people who've been through the ringer, or who lack materially in some way, shape or form. But we need to, as I said, move towards this goal because it feels spiritually aligned to do so. This Aries stellium energy is not so much, even though it's Aries and there's lots of planets here, it's not so much about, well, I'm going to drop my big wad of money into the offering plate so that everyone in the church can see how rich I am and how fabulous I am. This is a biblical story, by the way. It's not about getting the ego gratification of seeming like you're generous, You see a lot of, I see this a lot, Forbes magazine writing up about this philanthropist and they've given this much money. But what percentage of their actual overall income is that gift? And is there ego attached to that donation, that gift? Whereas, this is very biblical, but somebody like the poor widow in the Bible who gave her 2 copper coins was all she had. That's a far greater gift, I'm going into parables here, but that's a far greater gift than just, barely 1% of somebody's income being given to charity and then being hailed as some wonderful philanthropist. It's not right, So it's much more this energy, because Neptune is in the stellium, about giving for the right reasons, to support, to help, to heal the world materially in some way, rather than, hey, look at me, aren't I a fabulous philanthropist? You'll know, the heart will you'll trigger your heart. You'll get a feeling of, this is where I need to put my money where my mouth is, by taking some sort of charitable action and giving. Second house, I believe, has to do with giving. I also feel that many of you Pisces people might be in some sort of high pressure situation this week where you've got to make a decision, forewarned, forearmed about this, but it'll be a material decision. Okay, should I buy this office chair or that office chair? Should I buy that phone or this phone? Should I buy, it could be, should I spend my money on this or should I save my money? Lots of pressurized financial decisions might be on the cards this week because of this intense energy in this realm of the chart. There could also be pressure regarding giving as well, and decision making regarding giving. So that's one thing. You could also feel the pressure, like I just described, me buying the shag painting that I particularly wanted. Oh my gosh, am I going to be able to make ends meet? I'm going to get this painting in time before it's all sold out. Pressurized decision making regarding the purchase of something that has a limited time or a limited edition or something like that might be also part of this. You might feel some sort of weight of destiny around something to do, a decision you have to make regarding your face, your teeth, your hair. So, maybe you snap a tooth or something like that, and it's like, oh my God, which dentist am I going to go to? Which dentist can I afford to see? There's a lot of destiny about my future looks and appearance that's wrapped up in the choice that I make now. So you might be feeling the weight of decision making, the weight of destiny regarding something to do with your teeth, something to do with your face, something to do with your hair. A choice that you have to make has a lot of bearing now. Maybe you're going to get married and you have to decide what hairdo you're going to have for your wedding. That can be a pretty pressurized decision, Some of you may be facing that decision this week, Pisces. Yeah, this can also be a time of burnout because Aries is a sprinter, not a long haul. So, there could be some sort of, the second house has to do with what we need to do to make ourselves feel stable and secure in the world. And you might be working so damn hard trying to create some sense of stability and security in a world that's gone mad, let's face it, that you burn out, that you get overwhelmed by trying to, find a home or set up your self-sufficiency garden. You've worked too hard all day and you've gone in and you're sunburned. There can be some burnout from trying to establish these things that create stability and security for us. So just watch out for burnout. Let's say you're out there creating your veggie patch. Make sure you take regular breaks and hydrate and, go in for lunch and all that sort of thing so you don't burn your body literally and figuratively out. I mean, Mars is here. Mars gives burns. So if you are out there doing some gardening, do be careful. Wear your hat and your sunscreen if you need to and that kind of stuff. So do watch out for extreme burnout as you seek to establish, in whatever way you're doing it, some sort of stability and security in your life materially. We're all feeling the pressure to do that, I feel, at the moment, given the precariousness of our Western civilization at this point in time. So I do encourage you to pursue stability and security, but just be careful of burning yourself out in the process, okay? I just want to finish by saying, strive for win-win situations, my beautiful Pisces friends. And the reason I say that is because there's so much energy in the sign of Aries that Libra's getting overlooked. And Libra is the balance point to Aries energy. Libra is diplomacy, it's a win-win, it's give and take. So you might have to actively, consciously implement give and take this week, and quite literally, because this is the house of giving, the second house, and the eighth house is the house of what we receive from others. So make sure, Pisces, that you're not over-giving this week. It's good to give. It's great to be charitable, but just don't overdo it this week. Make sure that you are receiving from other people instead of, Pisces is prone to this anyway, self-sacrificing and being the martyr materially for other people this week. Try to rein it in and make sure that you're receiving enough to support your life as well. What's the point in giving away your coat to someone in the freezing weather if you're just going to shiver to death? Make sure you're receiving what you need to, and don't give away more than what you can afford to, or more than what you need to have a successful, happy life. It's great to be charitable, just don't martyr yourself. That would be my suggestion this week, seen from the heavy stellium that we've got in the second house. Make sure that you're receiving from others in some way as well, my beautiful Pisces. Now, I want to mention, Pisces, that readings with me are still on sale for the month of April, and I still have 1 or 2 sessions left in April to help you understand what's happening in your astral skies if you would like to have a reading with me. And for anybody who's interested in world events, I just want to let you know that I've released a video on my other YouTube channel called World Astrology with Kesenya, where I'm going to explore, or I have explored, our current world political situation from an astrological perspective. If you're into that sort of thing, the link is in the description below. Head on over there and join me at World Astrology. And while I'm on the topic of world politics, let me tell you a little bit of a story about when I was a town planner in Australia. At that time, I did my very best to fight against Agenda 2030 and the New World Order that the Epstein class is trying to force on humanity. But I was a solo, single person, and there's not a lot that you can achieve by yourself unless you can find other like-minded people to get the ball rolling and make change. So it was very frustrating. Since I've come to California, I have seen that the Epstein class is already implementing tools and mechanisms to take us in a speedy way towards Agenda 2030, which is you'll own nothing and be happy, that horrible adage by Klaus Schwab that nobody aligns with. They have implemented back in 2020 Proposition 19, which actually fuels the housing affordability crisis in California and brings about in greater speed this you'll own nothing and be happy thing. We have a chance, my beautiful friends, to turn this around for the benefit of all families and all homeowners. Not just in California, but this could really start something rolling for the whole world, really. There's a link in the description below if you're in California and you would like to receive some information on how to return to the benefits that humanity had under Proposition 13 which was in place before the implementation of Proposition 19. There's a lot of momentum in California this year towards restoring Proposition 13, and we should all be getting behind this happening for the good of our families, for the good of home ownership, and our children being able to have the same lifestyle that we knew growing up and going on down through the generations. So maybe you don't like me talking about fighting the Epstein class, my Pisces friends. Maybe you don't think it relates to astrology at all. I want to point out to you, if that's what you think, that we have a stellium in Aries this week. This is the warrior, the hero, the Wonder Woman energy. And there has never been a more appropriate time to fight for the sake of humanity than during this Aries stellium in April 2026, and particularly for Pisces people in the second house of our resources, of which our home ownership is one resource that we have available to us to live a good life, to live self-sufficiently, to live securely in the world. It is so pertinent to Pisces people. All Pisces people should be getting behind this momentum to overturn Proposition 19. If you don't think that's the case, feel free to utilize other YouTube channels if all you want is sunshine, lollipops and rainbows. But for those of you who want to be warriors and heroes in your lifetime, now is the time to do something. Thank you for joining me for this week's Astro Weather. I'll be back with another Astro Weather report next week.